It's the trailer to... Okay. Dealing with the devil. God damn it. Sorry, that's a very stupid name. I had no time to play childish games or make meaningless friends when I was 8. You were an angsty 8-year-old too. Okay, so it's first person. I don't write in first person anymore. My mother always told me that it would brighten my spirit to have a friend. She didn't understand. Nobody understood when I was 8. Not even you, Elmo. That's if this is... I don't know if it's fancy or not. My stepfather never understood either. The only one remotely understood me, typos, was Bezic. That's not a name. Okay, I'm assuming fantasy because that's not an actual name. The town outcasts me. The town outcasts, but he went missing. Like you do. Also, was there a vote? Alright, we need a vote for a new town outcast. How about Bezic? Because he's a prick. This is the story of how I finally found peace. I grew up from 1457.
Me and his friends. Gosh, that's harsh. Neil.
And he was 8.
Art Attack was doing his best. Neil. Well, it's Neil then.
I had no time for art. Oh, hang on. 1457 continuation reality to Earth. What the fuck does that mean? What? There are 2 Earths and it's 1457. Okay.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack. I'm just confused at my past. Okay, fuck it. I'm right. I'm gonna read it. After Bezic disappeared, I had to roam spelled incorrectly, the town looking for a new soul to call my companion. It sounds like there's a reason you didn't have friends when you were 8. As I roamed through the town, I saw all the weary eyes of the pathetic beings of this place watching me as if I was some sort of disgusting creature. Mostly because you were saying this out loud.
Jack said, "How are my fellow friends?"
Clearly a coordination to hidden fantasy lands. I hope not. I'm dying inside. Oh god, okay. I made my way past the town's borders. By borders I mean a small fence. Notice I didn't say a line of a small fence, it's just a small fence, like in the middle. You can walk around it. On a small hill in the distance, the sun shone past the bitterly bleak clouds and onto my sickeningly sweet neighbour, girl, Alexandra. Okay, so you've got names like Bezic and Alexandra. She may have been 10, but she acted like a 6-year-old. Please tell me he dies. I hate him already. I don't even know his name at this point. Like, he's just I.
Hi, Stephanie.
Okay. She was often on that hill, picking the flowers that were as yellow as a coward's stomach. It was my goal, switching pen, as a child to demolish the pedestal that Alexandra used to keep her head so high above the clouds. But I always failed. Yeah, you're a prick. Alright. She always seemed so happy. I bet inside she was crying. What a likeable protagonist! Everyone's an idiot but me. Alexandra spotted me as I made my way towards her. Her eyes were sparkling stars in the night as they stared at the world of humanity, my sorrow below them. She smiled. I'm listening and I'm just writing my story.
And it all burn.
Jodie, take this as what not to do. Don't have your character call everyone an idiot. Good day, Marlon. Oh, okay, he's called Marlon. My eyes became like windows into hatred. Oh! Lighten up! 15-year-old Matt, you don't have depression yet. You don't know what this is yet. I despised it when... I despised it when she called me that. I despised it when she called me that wretched name my mother gave me. I preferred she'd called me Blackheart. Alexandra, hatred windows. Can I get that on a t-shirt? Yes, if you give this, we can buy some hatred window. Angry windows. Alexandra giggled at my stare. Oh, sorry, I mean Dominic. How's that better? Yeah, Dominic. How's that better? I was given that name by Bezic. So the town outcast gave you a random name. Good. I'm always being named by strangers. Alexandra, why must you insist on being so ridiculously joyful? I cringed. You cringed. You fucking cringed. I fucking cringed. And this is him when he's 8. Like, he's a prick. God. Okay. Why must you insist on letting bad things rule your life? Why are we speaking like adults? You're 8 and I'm 10. Okay. I'll be happy when you give me something to be happy about. I don't know about you, but when I was 8, I was happy about a lot of things. Wine gums being one of them. Mind you, it's 1457 in 2 Earths continuously. I fucking don't know. Okay, she was silent for a moment before she gave me an answer I didn't want, but now that I think about it, I really needed. Alexandra stood up, looked at me in my joyless eyes, and giggled. She giggles a lot.
Did you read those two?
That sounds like a very weird and spooky story. I wish. Who's Dominic? I'm as concussed as the main character. That is... I don't know. Apparently he didn't like his birth name of Marlon, so he changed it to Dominic. Ooh, wine gums, haven't had them in ages. How dare you? Go to the shop right now.
She's just come back from the shop.
Go back. Okay. Oh, you still have me? As if she knew I had lost faith in everyone else. You're 8! Good grief. Well, that's one person besides myself I can trust, I joked. Aha, said Alexandra suddenly. What? You're smiling. So, you never smile. Lord help me, there's more. I have no need for such foolish things. If it's so foolish, then why did you just do it? I couldn't answer. She wrapped her arms around me. What are you doing? It's called a hug, silly, she giggled. Slowly, I wrapped my arms around her, wondering if it was what she wanted. Maybe there's hope for you after all, Alexandra whispered in my ear. At that moment, the village bell rang. The town bell. Okay, so I went from a village to a town really quickly. There's a bit of a difference, mate. Okay, that I want t-shirt. My joyless eyes of age. There's so much angst, and he's 8. I was born angry. Okay. The town bell only rang to announce a town meeting in the church. Quickly, Alexandra let go and skipped off to the meeting. 10-year-olds often go to meetings?
Hi, Stephen.
I stayed clear of the gatherings of simpletons. You're 8. You are fucking 8. It had been hours since the whole town had gone into the church. It's a big-ass church. In 1457? He sounds like Damian Wayne. How long has Damian Wayne been around? Did I call him? Did I do it first? Because I don't think Damian Wayne's as stupid. It had been hours. At least he's got an excuse. His dad's Batman. This kid's... He's got a mother and a stepfather. So clearly his biological father is going to be relevant later. Gathering of simpletons. Okay. I decided that anything worth spending hours talking about must be at least interesting to someone like me. Marlon, come round here. Sorry, not Marlon. Dominic, come round here. We can talk for hours about absolutely nothing. Have you heard of Five Nights at Freddy's? It hasn't been invented yet, but still. I pressed my ear against a cold wooden door. You're lost. I'm lost. So, there's a town meeting. That's the first thing that's happened so far. After going to see Alexandra pick some flowers or something. As my hand leaned on the door, it suddenly creaked wide open. No one locked it. It was at that moment that all the homely faces of the town looked at me with eyes that could pierce a metal slate. Okay. At the front of the church, I could see the town vicar with his beard that doubles as a home for flies who happen to be smarter than him. Why? Are you in... Okay. So his beard just has flies in it. Okay. Come forward, my son, and let me gaze upon you. He called out to me.
Hi, Wayne's World.
Help. He is reading... I was young. Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. That's what I'm doing, Stephen. I am reading something I wrote when I was 15, which is far too long. This is the first complete novel I wrote. I don't even know how long it is, actually, in word count. That hardly seems necessary. Reverend, I would prefer to simply listen in on your conversation. I see. He turns to the rest of the inhabitants of this town. Would you leave so that I can speak to the young boy in private? Oh dear. 15-year-old Matthew, please don't go that way. There's a vicar and a young boy. Help. Okay. Without a sound, the citizens left the church. How? The whole town's in the church. How did they leave without a sound? Okay, it's a lot of things. Each one of them stared at me as they went past me, but each cringed when I looked back at them. I'm cringing right now. They were weak compared to me. I beat them all in a fist fight when I was 8. They feared me. He's saying this all out loud in my head. I noticed Alexandra wasn't there. Okay, if all the town was in the church, who's watching the 10-year-old? Okay. Perhaps she was off gallivanting somewhere in her own smile-filled world. Why are you such a prick to Alexandra? She's not done anything yet. I wish I could be RB, Stephen. I wish I could be. Okay. After everyone left, it was just me and the vicar. The wooden doors were slammed shut. Usually, the vicar was a kind old simpleton whose body language was easier to read than a book with only one giant black letter in the middle of it. I wish this one was just one letter. At last, the vicar decided to open the hidden mouth of his and tell me why he wanted to speak with me. What hidden mouth? I don't know about you, but when people have beards, I can still see where their mouth is. You are an abomination, child, and you must be punished. Good night, everybody! You're finally starting to sound like me, but I do wonder, why are you punishing me?
Kay says she hates where this is going.
So do I. So do I. Because you are an abomination. Do you not listen? He shouted. In what way? Well, you call everyone simpleton, you're a prick, and you're 8 years old. He stared at me for a moment. Was this feeble excuse for a human being trying to intimidate me? Who are you? For an 8-year-old, this is him thinking. Okay, your soul is tainted by the devil. I don't know. The devil's in LA having quite a good time solving mysteries. I'd rather be watching Lucifer right now. Okay. For some reason, that sentence made me feel uncomfortable. Who was he to say that my soul was anything but clean? True, I despise my fellow man, but in the eyes of this twat's false lord... Yeah, he actually just calls him a twat. I hadn't committed any sins, in brackets, so how could my soul have possibly been tainted by the devil? I don't know. What's wrong? No witty remark? The vicar chuckled. Vicar, there hasn't been a witty remark all day. I'm a tad confused. That's why I am too. Why would you tell me this now? You know I've always acted the way I do. That implies he was acting like a prick when he was 1. His first word was simpleton. Schwimpleton. He turned his back on me. We have reason to believe you are scheming to bring the dark forces to our town. I burst into laughter. First time in years. I think that means for the first time in years. First of all, I'm 8. And second of all, why would you believe that?
Just going to
I don't know, Dominic.
co-hosting off. Yeah. I'm not sure how to do it. Keep reading.
I hate where this is all going. So like, this is entertaining. I'm glad you find it entertaining. I'm finding it. I hate it. I had a dream. The Lord and Saviour came to me and showed me what you truly are. Okay. What are you blathering on about? Rage filled his eyes at that moment. He pulled a vial from his pocket. What's a pocket? Oh, I think I meant pocket. There's no R in pocket. He uncorked it and flicked it at me. Droplets of water spurted out from it. As it touched my skin, I burst into flames. The unnatural fire was agonizingly painful. One simple thought went through my mind. Why is this happening? I'm with you. I have no idea why it's happening. And I wrote this. How old was you when you made this? 15. And apparently thought it was an R in pocket. I don't know. And he burst into fire. So he's dead now. Yes, we can finish. And the rest is just padding. I dropped to my knees and started pounding the floor in confusion. Finally, the flames died down and eventually disappeared. I should have been killed. I wish you were. I looked up. The vicar even looked shocked that I still lived on his plane of existence. So it's true. What is... What, ellipses, was, ellipses, that? ... Okay. I asked, barely being able to speak. You know, you've already shown that you're barely able to speak. Damn, you were some sick kid back then. I was angst back then for some reason. My clothes somehow still intact. Oh, thank fuck. Oh, thank fuck. Okay. That was holy water, and you are not worthy of being in this sacred church, much less existing. Okay, if he's affected by holy water, how is he still alive in the church? I'm pretty sure that would be doing something. What did I say? The vicar sounded like he was declaring war on me. Look at yourself, he ordered. I stood up, my limbs still in pain from being set on fire. As they would be. Yeah, you needed holy water when you was a kid. I stared at my hands. My skin had turned into a shade of darkness that only those who dwell in the night knew. I'm just going to take a moment. A shade of darkness. And today's weather is light darkness with a sprinkling of fuck. Okay. The ends of my fingers became claws that matched my new skin. They were unmanicured. In tone, only... Yeah, in tone. Only thin veins flowing with blood that was infected with sorrow distinguish it from the rest of my skin. Only thin veins flowing with blood that was infected with sorrow distinguished it from the rest of my skin. How do you infect blood with sorrow? I know what happened. That's some... I don't know. Someone did something at 14. I had to angst not reading this before going live. I do. I would have highlighted all the things I wouldn't read, and then I wouldn't have to read it at all. Okay. I felt my head. My hair had completely gone. Priorities, 8-year-old.
Your hair go because you got on fire?
Apparently. At the back of my head, there were large quills. I turned into Shadow the Hedgehog! This better be where it's going. 15-year-old me is redeemed if I became Shadow the Hedgehog. Bald! 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 I felt a tad different. Only a tad. Okay. I slowly turned around to see that I had a tail with 2 rows of spikes going down either side at the end of a spike. But then I was beginning to notice an amusing pattern. Did he mention spikes? He has spikes now. Okay, this is something I also hate when people do now. is what I will do now is active description. Like he'll be describing stuff while doing stuff, not I need to pause while I describe all of this for you. Luckily, the vicar's just standing there going, take your time, demon. So, how about them, Beth? Okay. Oh, where was I? Okay. I looked back at the vicar. He was terrified. It made me smile. This 8-year-old's a sociopath. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. I'm just a smidge different. Okay. His expression then changed to joy. Help? You're powerless in the house of God. You're spelt wrong, by the way. I stared into his eyes. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and he looked at me. Okay. He was scared. I thought he was joy. Is he happy or... I felt like this lowlife was gaining superiority over me. Quickly, I jabbed my tail into his right shoulder. Immediately, I knew how to move my tail. Moving my tail was a strange experience. If that's all you've got to say after growing a tail, then what the hell? I only thought of jabbing his shoulder, and it obeyed me. The vicar screamed. I thought hearing his pain may have given me some anguish, but it just made me feel like an animal. Very fitting, given my appearance at the time. You're 8. You're 8. You should be freaking out more. Okay. The church door burst open and the vicar's personal lackeys came charging in. Oh yeah, Haley, you remember when we got married and our vicar had personal lackeys? Yeah, there was Bob, Joe, just every vicar's got lackeys. Oh, for goodness sake. I slowly turned to see the cowardly expressions of these so-called warriors of God. Where do you live? Okay. I could hear them whisper to each other. Why doesn't he have any eyes? Wait, he hasn't got any eyes?
Thank God someone's breaking the situation up.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I'm just very confused. If I had no eyes, then how is it I could see the group of intellectually challenged meatheads cower?
Hang on, sorry, I dropped my phone.
Bless. Intellectually challenged meatheads cower as they pointed arrows coated in water at my new demonized form. Alright. They had arrows at the ready, for some reason. The vicar at this point was still writhing in pain on the floor. Don't just stand there, fire! They fired, of course. As the arrows penetrated my demonic skin, I felt an incredible amount of nothing. No pain. Did you use holy water? The vicar screamed at the incompetent half-wits. Did you want them to shoot you? I'm just a tad concerned I have no eyes, kid. Priorities. I know, right? He's just going, oh, I've got no eyes. Neat. You're 8. You should be like screaming for mummy. Okay. By this time, I'd had enough, so I ran out of the church into the light of the day. The brainless The brainless minions of the Lord didn't even notice. Yeah, I wouldn't notice if a demonic child constantly calling me an idiot just walked past me. Easy to miss. I moved as fast as the mind thinks. What does that mean? What does that mean, 15-year-old me? You're crap at these similes. Outside, a crowd has gathered to see what had got the vicar to summon his most trusted and incompetent guards. Okay, that means he has competent guards, right? Also, were they just waiting outside for him to yell? Or some shit? They gasped when they saw me. They screamed and ran, all except my mother. Okay, so he does have a mother. Okay, maybe she's a bitch, that's why he's like this. She walked up to me and hugged me. Tears rolled down her delicate face and felt refreshing as they touched my skin. She whispered in my ear, I should have told you. Could you tell me? I wrote this and I don't even know what the... Okay. So, are you a demon too? Okay. What am I? Oh, the first sentence where he's not calling anyone an idiot. You're my son. That's all you need to know.
You need to know a bit more than that.
Okay, yeah. So maybe you are a demon? I couldn't believe this. I looked like hell's boogeyman, but she was still there. What does hell's boogeyman look like? Is that a boogeyman for hell? Is that boogeyman employed by hell? Is that boogeyman from hell? Okay. There to talk to me as if I had never said anything terrible to her face. You even call your mum an idiot? Maybe an 8-year-old. Your real father would be proud to see you now. Real? What else had she kept from me? Marlon, you mentioned you had a stepdad. What did you think that meant? I should have told you. I should have told you absolutely nothing. Enjoy figuring life out. Yeah. The mum's the villain. I'm getting it now. She's the villain. Oh, okay. My mother screamed. Good. A group of quivering guards had fired an array of arrows into her back. Move out the way! A bit late for that. I heard a familiar voice shout. It was my father, Jonathan. Father in quotes. You can say stepdad, mate. You've already known this. The man who had got into my good books by doing something useful. Not talking to me directly, but instead only talking to my mother. You see, that way I never got his sorry attempt to seem threatening. I get the feeling they were going to shoot him with arrows even if he wasn't a demon. My mother's body was still draped over my demonic form. Oh, so she's fucking dead. She's dead. My false father looked at her body. Do I just not like saying stepdad? Ironic. Shame. I'm gonna miss her. But then again, if you spawn a demon child, then you deserve to die. He was carrying a sword. Of course. Was this sad, angry man actually going to fight me? I looked at my mother. She seemed peaceful, lying there dead. Bit more of an emotional attachment, mate. So, when a human and a sea monster sign a contract, and so on, and 6 months leg lay a baby. Apparently. Okay, so she spawned him. So she got killed by arrows, so maybe she's human. So yeah, maybe he's half demon, that's the whole thing. Oh, he's half demon. Oh, angst. Okay. I gently lifted her up, somehow managed to be as strong as a grown man, even though I'm 8. And I put her to the side of the street, out of the way of the door between me and the spineless, self-righteous man who acted like my father for my life as a human, and then my enemy for my life as a demonic being. Hayley, do we have alcohol?
No.
Why not?
We don't have enough money.
Oh, yeah. Please donate so I can buy alcohol and forget this existed. He held the sword in the air. By the power of Grayskull! Please. The light from the sun shone from it. Oh God, please. He ran towards me. I stayed there, actually finding it entertaining to see this man try and use a battle cry. A blast echoed through the air. Oh, cool, someone's got a gun. He stopped, dead in his tracks. Normal kid, crying, Mummy's dead, I'm so short. This kid, Mum's dead, interesting Tuesday. Oh, Mum's dead.
She's had no bad reaction.
It's like Raven from
He hasn't really had a reaction to his mum.
He's not had a bad reaction to anything. He's got no eyes. It's like, oh, that's odd. Look. A blast echoed through the air, but he stopped dead in his tracks. I felt a tremendous force pushing me. It knocked me to the cold, hard, merciless ground. Everything became as black as the devil's soul. Kill me, please. Just kill me. Instead of fear, like most ingrates would feel, I felt comfortable amongst the darkness. Yeah, you got blasted down, but I'm quite comfy. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to have a nap. When the darkness faded and light came back into existence, I found myself staring down into the vicar's smug face. My arms were chained to a wall. Oh God. This is getting kinky. The room was lit by an what am I trying to spell? Ensemblage, there we go, of candles. Amazing what a good old cannon can do, he chuckled. Okay, so he got shot by a cannon? That just raises further questions. What's the vicar doing with a cannon? How didn't he notice that thing being pulled? And what? What's a... Alright, fine. He pulled the vial from earlier out of his pocket, at least I spelled that right this time, and smashed it against my demonic form. The water burned like it did last time. I was in so much pain, I screamed. This was no mortal man's scream, no. It was the scream that ended human lives and haunted nightmares. The pain seemed to last an eternity. Yes, it certainly is lasting an eternity, and I've got more to go. I saw the vicar's terrified face. Could it be the vicar was regretting his actions? Wussy. Oh, you're thinking you're regretting? Whoa, fire. Would I wish I had core injuries? Oh, lit. It's just a case of, you're regretting harming an 8-year-old? Wuss. Like, what do you want him to keep doing it? All right. I looked down. In my chest, there was a big hole, making my heart visible.
He should be dead.
He should be more worried. Okay, when the fire burnt out, my chest healed up as if the hole had never existed. The vicar walked out of the room. The door had iron bars across it, as if I was some crazed creature. And that's his only reaction, apparently. Just like, iron bars, hole. Is anything going to faze you? Okay. For 10 years, I was locked up in that room. He survived a long time. Every day, the vicar came in to ask what I was up to. Nothing, just hanging around. That needs to be in there, please. About my plans for domination. I could never answer him. Okay. I stopped speaking the day they put me in chains. Good. Good, everyone got some peace and quiet. Water burns like in no pain I've ever felt. Oh, Mum's dead, that's I guess. Yeah, you're right, that's the biggest reaction he's had in this. Like, I've been burned! Your mum's blood is probably still on you, kid. Just saying this out there. He must be weak if he's been in chains for 10 years. Okay. He never gave up. Slowly, I saw him age into an old, grey, decrepit shell of a man. The arm I had jabbed became infected, so it had to be cut off. He never fed me. It was a wonder why I didn't starve to death.
10 years and never been fed.
I like how he just goes, I've not been fed. That's puzzling. Why am I not dead? Again, this kid has no strong reactions. At least now he's 18, all right? Every year or so, they would carefully change my chains. Oh, good. Making sure that I didn't escape. They had nothing to fear. For 10 years, I barely moved. It did give me plenty of time to think. One day, I had an epiphany. God, I'm an idiot! No, 10 years later, he's dead, has no reaction to his mum being dead. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I started laughing. It felt brilliant. No wonder the insufferable morons of the town loved to do it. Oh, God. Just then, I heard someone unlocking the door. I silenced myself and readied my strength to pull the chains off the walls, a woman entered, tall, slender, blue eyes that would make mortal men obey her every word. So you're what the vicar kept checking up on. She locked the door behind her. For some reason, this fresh face gave me a new, warm feeling. It was kind of irritating. I'm feeling emotions. That's annoying. Oh. Okay, speaking of the old Lord worshipping... What is that word? Oh, I get it. Speaking of the old Lord worshipping ignoramus, where is he? This kid swallowed a thesaurus at one point. I swear it. She seemed shocked to hear me speak. Marlon, is that you? Oh fuck, this is Alexandra, isn't it? Okay. Only 2 people ever called me Marlon. Wait, what? Okay. And one of them was dead. Oh yeah, my mum's dead! Alexandra, you've changed. Not that I want to talk. Oh, don't get witty now. She burst into tears and hugged my chest. They told me you'd been killed by the creature that attacked the vicar. What were you doing during all this? Okay. I've missed you so much. Here, let me get you out of those chains. That's a big leap to it's Marlon. He looks nothing like him. It's been 10 years, so his voice has probably dropped. What are you basing this on apart from... Sounds like the Grinch. I'm feeling feelings. What is the deal? He better get a dog. I better have written a dog in this. Alexandra was still an emotionally controlled mess, but it was nice to see something familiar. Oh, sweet Jesus, that does not pass a vibe check. As soon as she let me out the chains, I found myself repeating my question. Alexandra said that the vicar was dying, so she decided to steal his keys and see what was at the top of the tower. Apparently for 10 years I had been stuck in the dungeon tower. Oh well. That's the actual words there, oh well. This had to have been a parody. I had to have been parodying something. She's dead, I remember that. What Tuesday it was. It was entirely uneventful, I might add. Yeah, I got shot by a cannon, nothing much happened. Oh yeah, Mum died. Wait, I don't have to buy Mother's Day stuff anymore. Would you unlock the exit? I have further business to attend to, I ordered. It already is unlocked. She opened the door. Also, Alexandra, why is your first thought, the vicar's dying? Yoink! I get afterwards, but he's dying at the moment.
Thanks for the likes.
Oh, good grief. Okay, where was I? It just went straight through that pathetic mind of hers. She is saving your ass from a tower. Stop being a dick. She just stood there, staring at me as if I was some... Okay, to be fair, I was now very demonic in form. She at least had a decent reason to stare. Alexander stroked my cheek. You're not even trying to listen to me, are you? Of course not. Alexandra just looked at what I had become. Your skin's cold. What are you now? My mother said that I was her son, and that was all I needed to know. So I guess she mated with some sort of creature, and thus I came to be of this world. It happens every day. I mean, Mark down the road has got a demon wife. You don't think she was forced, do you? Jesus, younger me. Jesus, okay. Impossible, I scolded. She was quite close to the vicar. If she was raped, she would have told him, and the vicar would have hunted it down and purged me as soon as I was born. That better be the last time that comes up. So she fell in love. I paused and stared at her into her ocean-mimicking eyes. Oh, look! A whale! I was knowledgeable about many worldly things, but love managed to have been something that I had heard many babbling idiots going on rants about, but it still eluded me to what it actually was. I better have alcohol after this. It's irrelevant as to why they mated. What? Who speaks like this? Okay. But she didn't even tell you that you could turn into a monster type thing, so yeah, she's yeah. She would have told the vicar. I mean, she told the vicar I was a demon. Wait. Actually, how did the vicar know?
What's the other bit?
She had a dream.
The 2B part got me crying.
The 2B part, to be fair, part got me crying. Yeah, like, why was she looking at me with, oh yeah, to be fair, I'm a demon. Like, fair enough, okay. All that matters is I find the creature. It took you 10 years to go, I'm going to find my real dad. Well, it's 1457. Yeah. So, Jeremy Kyle's not around. And then what? I'll decide that action upon finding it. But first, I will go ask the vicar what he knows. You mean we? What could you gain from helping me find my biological father? Your what? My real father. Oh, I don't want to gain anything. I just want to be sure you're safe. Why?
Thank you for following.
Because friendship? Oh my god, is the solution a mirror? Oh god. I hope he's not his own father. Okay. Your mum's not around, and your old father's a meanie. It's been 10 years, so she's 20. All 20-year-olds call people meanies. You need somewhere you can be free. A thought crossed my mind at that moment. Out of curiosity, how exactly have you been living for 10 years? With her parents? What kind of question is that? I don't know. Her eyes widened at my wild expression of kindness. Even she's concerned that you're being nice. Alexandra took a deep breath and sighed. After a long... That was me trying to spell awkward. Silence. I grew impatient and used my claws to my advantage and savaged the lock. She's got the key. She's already unlocked the door to get in. You didn't need to break a lock. Let's go see the vicar that locked me up.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Meanie baked beanies are a huge problem. Oh yes, all of these meanies. Okay. Hopefully he's not still got that cannon. There we go. Tearing it to pieces of metal, saw a small... Oh, tearing it into pieces of metal so small a mouse would strain its puny eyes trying to see them. I don't think that's how claws work. That's your fucking Gordon Ramsay. We walked down the staircase without saying a word. It was really awkward. At the bottom of the tower, I stopped and stared at the door in front of me. The door that would lead me to the world I was caged from for 10 long years. How does he know it's been 10 years? Is there a calendar?
Time is a magical thing.
Don't you dare! Well, bringing mice into this like that, like... He hates everyone. He hates mice. He hates things. Okay. Slowly, I reached for the door handle. Many thoughts went zooming through my head. Was I ready for the world again? Of course I was. Was I scared? Had I outsmarted the buffoons of this town hundreds of times when I was human? You were 8. What were you doing? You weren't Dennis the Menace. Oh, okay, you might have been Dennis the Menace. What would I call myself now? Dominic was given to me by Bezic, but I didn't feel like my old Dominic self now. What does that even feel like? I felt different. I felt intoxicated. I wish I was intoxicated right now. I wanted to find the vicar and rip him apart. He's already dying. Hey, Marlon. I turned to see Alexandra with that inquisitive look on her face that brought back many nostalgic memories. How can you see without any eyes? Oh yeah, I've got no eyes. That's weird. Anyway, I'm not sure, but honestly I don't care, so refrain from asking me that in the future, I ordered her in a very restrained voice. Where would the vicar be resting for his meetings with the Grim Reaper? Who speaks like this? He's got 10-year aged abs, I guarantee it. Dominic Demonic. Oh god, you're right. Get it? Because his name's Dominic, and now he's demonic. Ha ha, clever writing. Oh, god damn it. He's in his house. Well, obviously. Typical. Let's go pay him a visit. Oh, that vicar. Always in his house. Hell? You're not going to kill him, are you? I make no promises. With that, I open the door, expecting the light of the sun to try and warm my soul. But instead, I was greeted with the cool night air. We made our way to the vicar's humble home. Along the way, we saw the residents of the town. They stared at me like I was the devil. You've just got out of being locked in a tower. Is he also just been in his clothes when he was 10? Because that's an intense watch. Well, yeah, he says his clothes are still on. He's been set on fire twice. Did they change his clothes while he was in the tower? Or was he naked right now? Like the bowler hat guy in the Mean Robinsons. It wasn't my fault. If you hadn't have locked me in that tower, I would have never missed the ball. Peter Robinsons is underrated and everyone should watch it. Oh, each one of them ran inside their cozy houses. Some came out with weapons. All I had to do was glare at them and they would drop their weapons. Alright, good for you. Alexandra simply waved at them. Even with people pointing knives or pitchforks at her, she still maintained that obnoxious smile of hers. Why are you such a prick to her? She's not... Why are you such a prick? Okay, so you can tell it's been 10 years, but don't know if stay all night so many more questions. Good point. Like, it's night time. Has he been counting seconds in his head the entire time? Okay. Okay. Do you not fear being haunted as... I think I meant hunted. Why did I put haunted? As well? They don't hate you. They just don't understand. They don't understand you. A nice talk will keep their pitchforks away. Ah, yes, it's amazing the amount of times people who don't understand demonic creature will cower or get weapons out in order to try and kill them, said creature. Really? Remind me to teach you sarcasm. Oh. He's a prick. He's a massive prick. Or she's got the brain of a 2-year-old. Both of them, really. They're both weird. But I must ask again, why are you helping me? Do you not have a life of your own? Yeah. Her smile faded away. It seemed like every time I asked her about her personal life, she would delve into the depths of sorrow, and she'd remain quiet for a while. Yeah, show it. Don't tell it, mate. If he had been fed, it could have counted days that way, but this dude was starved. Possible option here. I don't know. Is he ever peckish? It's like, okay, he starved, he didn't need to eat. So, what? For once, I thought I preferred her more happy-go-lucky side. Being an emotionless shell didn't suit her at all. As we passed my old residence, Alexandra froze. Outside of it stood my old father, armed with the same sword he had challenged me with a decade ago. "Alexandra, come back inside now." "Alexandra!" in all caps, he bellowed. She was cowering behind me like a dog from its abusive owner. Okay. Fine, stay behind that thing. Stay behind that animal that escaped from its cage. After all those years I spent taking care of you, I do not like where this is going. Emotionless, that meanie comment before was pretty furious, if you ask me. Her swearing is just saying flip. Oh, okay. He turned his attention to me. "Marlon, you still go by that name, don't you?" "I thought only 2 people called you that, and one of them was dead." If I didn't know what chance was there that I was going to tell this very angry individual who enjoys shouting at young women, making them feel like their life is nearly its end. "What brings you to this part of town?" "Oh, just a stroll. Went to the cafe, I guess." I don't know. What was that sentence? Also, he enjoys shouting at women. Okay, so he does this usually. I decided not to dignify his clout with a response. Oh, this clout with a response. He only shouts at women for clout. He simply glared at me with the same look 2 wolves give each other before they rip each other to a pile of bloody shreds. Very well, he raised his sword in the air. Ever get a sense of deja vu? You just also shouted at a woman. That's true. Everyone shouts at Alexandra, apparently. Where was I? "Looks like I'll have to send you to hell." And then at this point, I just rushed in front of him, drove my claws into his heart, ripped it out, and returned it to my place. "Is he the Flash?" "Sweet mate, mine." In front of Alexandra, shielding her from the soon-to-be corpse of my father.
Oh,
"I just killed a man!" Alright. His angry heart was still beating in my grasp. Am I reading a villain origin story?
It seems like
It seems like, because so far, apart from locking... To be fair, even if he wasn't a demon, locking him in a tower might have been a good idea, because he's kind of a prick to everybody. Apparently everyone who is not running in fear from this beast thing is going to get stuffed. God. Yeah. What is everyone else doing? The beat reminded me of the drums of war, and that reminded me of the day my life was changed. Was someone playing drums that day? Do 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 do. Oh, Demon Child. Do 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 do. Oh fuck! Oh, I am bad with similes in this. He stood there in silence for a moment, as if I had managed to kill him so fast that his mind hadn't had time to figure out that the body should be on the floor, carpeted with its own blood. So he had a very delayed reaction. He's just like, oh, so the girl better not be a love interest, because this is a very nice girl, deserves better than this.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Oh God, I hope not. Well, we've still got a while to go, so please be secretly evil. Please be secretly evil and kill the main character. Please, please, please. If she's a love interest, she's not a very fleshed out one. She's just, I am nice girl. We don't know anything. He hasn't asked too much about, why are you quiet? Are you okay? We don't get a sense apart from she's happy. And our lens is an idiot. Man-child, since he quite literally didn't mature outside, lol. It's worse than that. He didn't speak like an 8-year-old, and he still speaks the same. He doesn't even speak like a person. Okay, where was I on this? Oh yeah, watching him collapse to the ground, I thought of the times I heard him threatening my mother. At the time, I couldn't care less. What a lovely son you are! What an absolutely lovely son! But as I watched his body soak into an unholy pool of blood, I had 10 years alone with my thoughts and memories. Okay, I proceeded to throw the heart so hard it would strike the moon and knock it down, colliding with it, the very earth it had spent thousands of years watching. I'm assuming that's again metaphorical. Yo, dead mum, call back. Dead mum, call back. He remembers he's got a dead mum. The protagonist is just people are stupid and I'll only feel grumpy emotions. If he was the Grinch, at least he'd been Jim Carrey, and at least this would be entertaining. High in the air, it was caught by what appeared to be an owl. You know, but that's normal, right? I don't know. I didn't give it much thought. And then I remembered my mum was dead again. Oh, yeah. It was just some owl catching its food for the night. You know, the food you threw in the air really hard, apparently. Alexander tapped me on the shoulder.
That's okay, Jodie.
What's up? Sorry, I had to deal. You okay? Don't worry, I wish I had to go away too, because this was terrible. Okay. This meant I was probably going to get a lecture about how everyone has a nice side, and no matter how mean someone is, I shouldn't kill them. Did you often get lectures about not killing people? What did you do as an 8-year-old? So, can we redeem him? He's killed... Yes, he is killed and his body is taken over by a decent person. I hope. That would be cool. She takes over his body. That would be cool. Okay. As I turned to see her face, she hugged me and wrapped her lips around mine. Oh, fuck, she is the love interest. Okay. When she let go, she whispered, "Thank you," to the side of my head. Apparently I had no ears either. I am going to throw this book into the fire. Alexandra led the way to the vicar's house once again. Yeah, you just killed a man, but apparently he was abusive. So I'm trading one abuser to another. Also, you just kissed a demon. Also, you kissed a guy who hasn't aged
He's horrible to you as well.
Yeah. Oh, I think she is love interest. Yeah. Apparently, you're just going to kiss a demon. We're not even that far into this, and she's already kissed him. At least we know he has lips. So he's got no eyes, no ears, but he's got lips. Excuse me, but didn't that just happen? No setup. Yeah, there was no setup there. She just kissed him for killing a guy. Remember, guys, the way to a woman's heart is killing someone. I don't know about man's heart. So, guys, if you're trying to get a man, maybe kill someone. I don't know. A guy hasn't kissed him yet. Does he have two love interests? I don't know. Don't throw the book in the fire. I want to throw the book in the fire. But he has spikes. Girls love spikes.
Yeah, like Spike.
I don't think he's a punk. Okay. Led the way to the vicar's house once again. A part of me wanted to ask her about that embrace, but the rest of me was more preoccupied with finding the vicar and destroying him. He's dying anyway, you know this. So I remember you from childhood that one time we hung out and you mocked people want to make out now. God damn it, there's no fucking... Okay, childhood sweethearts I get. But he was a prick to you as a child. He's a prick to you as an adult. And he just killed a man in front of you. What's going on?
She sounds like a psychopath.
I think she might be. The vicar's door was locked. Well, obviously it's his house. I don't know what I love more, the story or the mocking of it. I have to mock up, else I'm not going to get through this thing. I can't read this. Okay. I once again put my claws to good use and unlocked it in my own personal way. As we stepped inside, Alexandra called out to the vicar. So he just broke into your house. Father Thomas? Oh, so that was his name. You didn't know what his name was? Did he not introduce himself at all when you knew him? You knew he was the Reverend. You knew he was the vicar. You didn't know his bloody name. The key word is sweetheart. They have at least nice-ish or sweet. It's in the name. That is true. She put her finger to her lips, indicating she wanted me to be quiet, of course. Yeah, that's what that means. Mate, lockpicking in his own personal way. Wow, I'm so glad there's no explanation how that was done. I think he clawed it open because he used his claws. Unless he went, eh. Oh, please let that be the way. He just goes, eh, and picks everything. That'd be cool. And you're right there. Lovely descriptions in this. I mean, the town had places. I had other ideas. I could hear Father Thomas's faint cry for Alexandra. When she entered his room, he smiled, like a man would when he saw his daughter. That's an interesting question. Why do we call vicars fathers? Marlon has ADHD, apparently. He just goes off like, why do we call vicars fathers? Okay. When I entered the room, for some reason, his smile grew. You're happy to see me. Again, you're spelled completely wrong. I'm picturing a cartoon dragon's nail lock picking, and I can't see anything else there. I wish. I wish. I'm waiting for this to wake up. Suddenly, that yearning to rip him to shreds took a break, and my yearning for answers stepped in. Wait, so did you want to kill him or get answers? I don't know. The vicar was in his bed. I knew you would come to see me as I died. I had a dream about it, he chuckled. His motivations so far have...
Dramatic music in the background.
That's well. So far, the vicar's whole thing is he had a dream. Marlon, I am your father. That's how he knows. He's the father.
What did Jodie say?
That's Jodie said she wanted to find out about the warm embrace, but they are focused on killing Father Thomas now. Yes, because you allow dreams to dictate what you're going to do in your life. Yes, because you're poorly written. Okay, I deserve that. Only now do I realise that I was wrong to do what I did. I was wrong to set a child on fire. It took 10 years. I could have freed you, but oh well.
And chained him up.
Now you realise? Alexandra chimed in. Oh fuck, Alexandra's got an emotion that's not happy. He was locked up for 10 years. I glared at her. She stopped smiling at me and then allowed me to continue my interrogation of an almost dead man. Okay. So that's all she gets a say in this conversation. She knew you as a child, so she may have an attachment for some strange reason, but all she has is just that. Alright. Another question. How could my glare have worked if I supposedly had no eyes? Okay. Do you remember that dream you had that told you to eradicate me from your plane of existence, but instead you chickened out and simply locked me in an abysmal room for 10 years? He nodded. What exactly happened in this life-altering dream? Does it matter? What's done is done. We cannot rewrite history. Shows what you know. I've got a time machine. I noticed his right arm was missing. Yeah, you said that earlier. That it had to be cut off. Do you pay attention to anything? I mean, oh yeah, your arm's gone. Wait, what? If she knows it's been 10 years, at no point she tried to free him, had better plans. So, from so far, I guess she didn't know what was locked up. Did she not question where the fuck Marlon... Oh, wait, no, they said that the creature had killed him. Is there a grave? Does Marlon have a fake grave in this now? That would be an interesting scene. Okay. A reminder of that tragic days, sighed the vicar. He sounded close to the Reaper's bony grasp. What does that sound like? How, pray tell, was the incident tragic for you? I inquired. He lost an arm. That might be why. Okay. Well, I looked in the mirror from that day, and I saw this soulless man whose Lord preys on children who never knew what they really were. I lost my self-respect and my faith that day. I continued to be a vicar, of course. I mean, I had to do something. I was bored. Father Thomas's eyes rolled back into his thick skull. Meeting the minuscule brain that dwelled within it. He's dying! I don't think you need to insult him more. Just stop calling everyone an idiot. God damn it. Okay. We stood there at the foot of his what? Oh. The foot of his quilted coffin.
Okay.
I guess bed, quilted coffin, I don't know. I wasn't fit to be a man of God, but I bills gotta get paid, am I right? Gotta get your pay. He just stands there every Sunday. Staring at his lifeless, cold corpse. He just died. How was he cold? A cold breeze swept through the house. Windows open. As if the father's spirit passed by on its way to search for that holy kingdom he believed in all his life. Pathetic. Why are you such a bitch? Also, he said he lost his faith. Like, gotta get that dollar. Is that a Korean flag? No, it's a pride flag. Just let that... Yeah, like, you don't need to insult him. He's dead. He's got one arm, which you took from him. Okay. I left the residence infuriated. How dare he die? The vicar had told me nothing of importance, and worse yet, the first to rip him to shreds went unquenched. To be fair, your mum didn't tell you anything either. Korean pride. Alexandra called out for me to slow down, but I pushed on. I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do. Where could I go? I don't know. I wrote this and I don't remember. Marlon! Shouted the embodiment of innocence. Ugh. I stopped. We were outside the town now. It's a short-ass town. On that hill that Alexandra favoured so much in her childhood. Me? She sat down and started picking those flowers that brought her so much joy. The rest of the town, well, Fresh Prince is on, so... Why must you insist on calling me that name? I asked as I sat down in the field of supposedly green bliss. Who calls grass green bliss?
Yeah.
Go back to your tower, man. This wasn't ready for your crappy attitude. Okay, I want that on a shirt. Forget everything else. Go back to your tower, man. Okay.
I can't.
Okay. I don't like calling you Dominic. It just doesn't feel right. What makes you think Marlon does? Marlon needs Twitter. I want to see his Twitter page now. Just calling everyone idiots, and his hot take on everything is just the worst one. Well, what do you want me to call you?
A twat.
strange how I had 10 years to think about it, but I never did come to a decision. I wondered what the point of a name was. Was it a way of telling what the person was like? No, it's what to call you. We have to call you something. I may be drawing something. Have we had much description about what this dude looks like? He has black skin, claws, spikes on his back, no eyes, no ears. So, unfortunately, it's not Shadow the Hedgehog. That I want to call me the Doctor. No. Marlon does not deserve to be the Doctor. He's a prick. He doesn't even deserve to be the
Does
Master.
he still have a hole near his heart?
No, that healed up, apparently.
So it's got to have a scar.
Whether he's wearing clothes or not, I don't know. If he is wearing clothes, they're really small. Unless they changed him. Like, is he naked? Is he naked? Is that why people are staring at him? He's just flopping? Does he have a dick? These are the real questions. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. Well, Alexandra asked. Before I could answer, something dropped in between me and Miss Joy. It was a human heart.
Oh, okay.
That happens. Say no more, Hulk shorts in it. Oh, yes. Okay, yes. Let's have his dignity. He's got Hulk shorts. Marlon, mad! I should have done it like that. The moment he becomes a demon, he just becomes the Hulk. He's like, you bad meanie.
Walker's from The Walking Dead or the guy from Death Note.
Oh, no, don't. He's better than Light, I hope. Upon seeing it, Alexandra jumped back and screamed. Seeing her scared for a change was actually quite satisfying. Why are you such a prick to her? What did she do to you? Did she steal the last biscuit? Is that why you're such a prick? I recognised the blood-covered lump. Yeah, it was a heart. Then I saw the owl from earlier. In its beak, it held a gold coin. Okay. I stretched out my hand as some sort of gamble. The owl's eyes glowed like the moon with the same ominous yet comforting radiance. Okay. It dropped the coin in my hand. 350. On a cold... uncaring night... What is this handwriting? That's mine. On a cold, uncaring night, it felt like a warm heart from a campfire. Oh, heat from a campfire. It reminded me of when my mother hugged me for the last time.
Oh, he's remembered his mum's died again.
Like, my mother died. It was very traumatic for me. Flashback. Oh, some radiance says what you think the world looks like. A dumpster fire. Yeah.
Oh, remember, he has no hair. He's bald.
Oh, yeah, he's got no hair. He's got quills for some reason. All the times before never seemed significant. They just seemed like something she got into the habit of doing every day before she went off each day. To come to think of it, I didn't know where she went. I remember how her tears felt against my skin. So, your mum hugged you every day and you were still a prick to her? I clutched the coin tight. This is going on booze. The owl fluttered off to its next destination. A single feather dropped off as it reached its height which man only has dreamed of reaching. Alexandra, now having stopped screaming and started staring in amusement.
I mean, the owl could have been a Pokemon, but we don't know. You were into Pokemon.
Yeah, it could have been a locked owl. Yeah, Owlette wasn't out there, I don't think. And started staring in amusement. She did that a lot. The feather plunged into the heart like an arrow through my demonic flesh. That's not how feathers move.
Forrest Gump moment.
Yeah. The heart started to beat faster, even faster. It was as if it was... I think I meant as if it was scared of being separated from its deceased host. It beat faster and faster until it could take no more and burst into flames. That's random. Thank you. Alexandra sat there speechless. I rested my head on the cool green grass. She looked at me confused. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm going to sleep," I replied. He does not care. It's like, heart's on fire, good night. A heart just burst into flames and you're going to sleep? Good, I'm not the only one who noticed. You know, you used to always look at on the, how did you put it, happier side. What did happen? It's nothing for you to worry about. You're free to do what you want. And what I want is to know what happened. Why would you want to know that? I didn't know why I cared so much about what had happened to her I didn't know why I cared so much about what had happened to her to annihilate some joy in her soul. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. After a while, we were both lying there, watching the fire dance its destructive yet seductive melody on the heart of anger.
No, you know, but his heart burst into flames.
Would you tell me why you feel feelings? Because I want... Why do you have emotions? I'm doing research for a paper I'm writing. Okay. We spent hours staring at it. The town's just still got that corpse. It's not reacted to the death of its faithless vicar. I feel like that should be a big thing. As they died down, I stared past the flames into Alexandra's eyes. She seemed different somehow. They say eyes are the window into people's soul. Oh God, not windows again. It seemed like hers had been shattered and her soul had been corrupted by something. While you were gone, she began, my parents went missing. You had parents? Hey, you tell... Oh yeah, I read that already. I learned that they were killed while looking for you. I thought the whole town knew. Okay, so no one knew where you went. Really? No one... What about the people who helped change the chains and they dragged you into the tower and... Okay. So the vicar managed to keep me a secret from all the people who weren't present when I ran out of the church in a crowd. You said the whole town saw you. I have to give him credit, that took something. Okay. As she continued, I thought of how simple life was when
Thank you for the follow.
When I distanced myself from other mortals, when I thought I was a mortal human. Oh, good grief. A tear welled up in her eye. I had to stay with your father. Why? Did you not have uncles, aunts? Anyone else? Okay. I mean, Jonathan. Okay, his name was Jonathan, apparently. He treated me like his pet. She clutched her shoulder as if she was giving herself a hug. Younger Matt, what was I implying? What the fuck was I implying? Jesus. The very memory of it was causing her sorrow. Yeah. Wait, did I just woman it in a refrigerator, you? No, that's a different mean. I believe you can stop there. I can only imagine what he did to infect your innocence, I told her. So I take it you spent most of your, not scribbles on this, so most of your time away from him. I tried to. John only allowed me to go to church, so I had to sneak out. I don't know what's going on.
Thank you for the gift.
Thank you. I get to know what's going on right now. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah. There was a brief moment of silence before she spoke again. Can I ask you something? Sure. I saw no reason why not. How did you kill him? I mean, it had something to do with tearing out his fucking heart. But I don't know how you did it. Dude is obsessed with her cough innocence. Oh God, he does say that a lot, doesn't he? Ugh. Hello, my fave UK couple. Hello from Canada. Hello! I want to die! Because I'm having to read this, and I wrote this.
He wrote it when he was 15.
Ugh, okay. What's going on? Ugh, okay. The man abused the woman who, in my own weak moment, was there for me. Sounds like your mum was always there for you. He challenged my supremacy twice, so really, it was an incredibly easy decision to make. Alexandra looked at me in bewilderment. I meant, how you killed him. You moved so fast, I wasn't quite sure what happened. One moment, you're standing in front of me. The next minute, you've got a heart in your hand, and John has a hole in his chest. Okay, apparently he has super speed. And apparently you can't put the two things together that he did that. Okay. Now I was the one who was bewildered. The man deserved to die. The sudden dark side of her... Oh, she's saying this. The man deserved to die. The sudden dark side of hers made me feel strange. Sure, if more people were like me, the world would be a far more exuberant place. But I never wanted Alexandra to take on my persona. That would have been different. I guess I wasn't sure how to describe it. I decided I better prevent her darker side from getting the better of her. Is Alexandra a Jedi? That mum, but what has she done for me lately? What has my mum ever done for us? Apart from hugging me. I've been thinking. She stopped crying and her eyes widened. Was she crying? Oh yeah, obviously. As if she was expecting me to say something of comfort. For now, since a lot of what is happening is in a short time, and since the more I think about it, the more I find it a trivial matter. Oh, that's him saying it, okay. Perhaps for now you should just refer to me as Marlon. That's your priority, is what people call you at the moment, not... Pardon me, where are you going? What are you going to do? Is the town going to chase after you? She smiled. As I fell asleep, I wondered whether I should keep Alexandra with me.
This commentary is giving me life, haha.
Really, because it's draining mine. Oh, she is the love interest and it's dead. And it's still going. The next morning, I awoke to be greeted by the wrath of the world's flaming watcher. I think I was trying to say the sun. In the most arrogant way possible. In the most arrogant, up my own butt. Lol, I didn't question for 1 second. He called this trivial. Alexandra was already picking flowers. She's 20 now, right? Okay. I ran to where she was picking flowers. Okay. She flinched when she saw me standing over her. How did you do that? You move like lightning, she questioned. Apparently, being demonic gives me great speed, I replied.
So does this guy have a nose?
That is a good question. He hasn't mentioned hasn't got a nose, but he hasn't mentioned he's still got one yet. So if he gets booped, maybe that will happen? I don't know. How do you know that? You've said twice that I've moved with a great speed. Plus, I started moving like that when I first became like this. I sat down next to her, watching her arrange flowers to create nature's art. There's a lot of telling in this. There's not showing much. So, bad. So I guess you'll want me to go home. By the look on her face, I knew Alexandra wasn't going to protest if I did anyway. So I told her my decision. Actually, I've been thinking about this very subject. Since if you did go back to town, the people would burn you for assisting a demon. Apparently, the people didn't, follow you to try and burn you. They just waited. And I'd prefer not to have your death constantly on my mind. It would be... I would prefer your death wasn't on my mind. It would be annoying. It would be best if you continue to accompany me on my journey. The wind blew Alexandra's hair. In the light of the morning sun, she looked like an enchantress. It was different. He's just discovered hormones. Whoa, you moved really quickly whilst chained up, Mealy. I'm surprised you didn't get free. I could break out of this any time, but I don't want it, I'm thinking. It was different. Once again, Alexandra wrapped her arms around me. Okay.
He's just trying to read something he's wrote.
What even is that word? Oh. That was a terrible way of spelling it. I coughed authoritatively, and she returned her arms to pick the picking flowers. How do you cough with authority? Ahem! So where to next, Marlon? She asked after a moment of listening to the sounds of the wind and the birds chirp. You know birds have to sit somewhere, right? Blah, blah, blah.
Trying to turn off the invites.
Oh, yeah. I believe we should seek answers. The only person I know whisper... Oh. The only person I know with per knowledge to get those answers is Bezic. Our best bet is to go to his old residence and see if we can find some clue as to where he has gone. Why the hell would Bezic have answers? That would be a head teacher's cough before an assembly starts. And he's younger than... Oh, good grief. Okay. What about the coin you got from the owl? It is unique. That's all I can truly say for now. Yeah, owls drop coins all the time. Nothing unusual about that. At all. A lone mouse scurried up to Alexandra as if it were reacting to her joyful aura. Okay. She stroked it as if it were tame, and under her touch it was. She had cheered up a lot since I had told her she could simply call me Marlon.
What was she calling him before?
Marlon. So now that you can call me that name you've been calling me, you're happier. I don't know. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. She looked up from the mouse into my eyeless face, and yet it still seemed like she was staring into my soul after I... Oh, I need a dictionary. After I exterminated that pest, Jonathan, you kissed me. I'm writing a Dalek. Did you have a good day? I was having a lovely day until I started writing this. Did they have a good day? I don't know. Okay, so he knows what kissing is at least. I wasn't sure how to put it. As I saw Alexandra's smile begin to fade, I quickly got to the point. The point is, to reward death with a kiss is kind of strange, don't you think? Alexandra's face bloomed red when I asked about the lip embrace. Lip embrace? Oh, for fuck's sake, just call it a kiss. Are you alright? I'm fine, she replied without hesitation. I stood up. The mouse looked up at me. Don't insult the mouse. 7 foot frame! 7 foot frame. Mouse along her back. When she calls your name, you insult her. Okay, fine. I squared up to the mouse, and an owl devour it. I'm sorry, what? I stood up. The mouse looked up at me. I squared the mouse. Okay, no, I know what I'm trying to say. The mouse looked up at me. I skewered the mouse on my spike of a tail and devoured it.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's been a day. I'm going to eat the mouse. Why is that your first go-to? It felt divine to eat something again. Wait, so were you hungry? What? Okay, so which way is Bezzik's house? I was surprised she was so calm about me eating an innocent rodent. So am I. Look, you can lampshade all you want past me. It's still fucking weird. I smiled when I remembered. It's good to see you smile. Not really. So how's he seeing any of this? I don't know. They keep asking that question. Unless he's a xenomorph? Like, maybe he's got, like, that weird flap bit that you can't see their eyes, but they do have them? I don't know. Like, why? I like it when you smile. She smiled back. Everyone's smiling. Not overused at all. You wouldn't be if you knew. She started chuckling. What do you mean? To get to Bezzik, we have to go back through the town. Or, I'm just spitballing here, to go around the town. Just saying. Alexandra's smile grew until it exploded into laughter that would remind anyone of their innermost joy. Should I give him reptile eyes and...
He's already got like scales, isn't he? So.
Oh, he's got scales, spikes. He's just eaten a mouse. You might as well. Wait, did he eat mice when he was human? Because he does that weirdly casually. Just going... Not, we should go get some food. And then, okay. He knows he doesn't need to eat. Why did he bother with the mouse? We set off again to our next destination as we reached the town to find it unusually quiet. It was like a graveyard in the middle of the night, when the only sound is a cricket playing its malicious magical melody.
Okay.
What's malicious about a cricket? Leave it be. The only sound to echo through the air was an owl. Oh great, they owl again. Fucking owl. Alexandra stayed close by me. I wasn't sure why. Oh, because she liked you for some reason. Okay. There didn't seem to be any danger, so she wasn't seeking protection. Then I remembered where all the half-wit gods' worshippers would be. So you know it's Sunday as well? Alright. Then they would have been in the church. Sunday was holy to them. Good thing it's Sunday and everyone's in the church.
He's gonna go kill people, probably.
Oh god, there's gonna be something, isn't there? Wait, how are they going to church? The vicar's dead. Is there a backup? Is it just the same vicar but shaved? I never understood why. To me, it was just another day in their pathetic lives. The bell rang. The screams started. I kept walking, as you do. Alexandra pulled my arm back. She looked at me with eyes that could melt the coldest, most cruel hearts. All of the angst in this. All of the fucking angst. I kept walking, dragging her with me. No, I don't want to go that way. Child. The scream continued to preach the very depths of my mind. Oh, breach. It irritated me beyond my limit. Stop screaming! I've got a headache! Ugh. It irritated me beyond my limit. Hang on, I told Alexandra as I ran to the church. The world seemed to rocket by my vision. In a second, I had arrived in front of the holy icon of the ridiculous Christian faith. Okay, so it's our universe because there is a Christ. Pathetic life. Okay, half my life in a tower, boy. Oh, that. I like that. These people got a scary monster correct reaction memo. Half my life in a tower, boy. I like that. Oh, where was I? Oh yeah. I peered behind my shoulder to see Miss Joy, dazed and confused. She was about to fall into the loving arms of the ground when she fell into my arms instead. Okay. She just chuckled as if she meant to do that. She's taking the screaming really well as well. There's something wrong with these people. As she came to her senses, she stood. As she came to her senses, she stood tall, flipped back her long hair, and smiled at me. The screaming's still going on, by the way.
And she's flirting.
Yeah, why? Why? This is also not when people flirt. Could you tell I was single when I was 15? Wait, was I? Yes, I was. I clenched my claws into a powerful fist. Smiling annoys him, apparently. Okay, her fax machine is broken on my mode. She didn't get the memo. She got the memo and then promptly ate it. Alexandra looked at me, puzzled at first, when she realised the screaming, the insufferable screaming of the damned, had stopped. Oh, that's good at least. The church doors wouldn't open. Locked from the inside? I don't know, use your lock-picking claw. Using my fist from hell, I punched the door, shattering it. As opposed from just punching it with your foot from hell. I don't know. It was too easy. I bent down to look at the pieces of the door. Is that really the most interesting thing right now? The backs of them were burnt to a crisp. It's a wonder why the colossal door was standing at all. That's a good question. I looked up from the debris of the sacred door to see a whole society of corpses. Hello, love your voice, never been able to catch your lives.
Oh, thank you.
She was talking to me.
Yeah, we do it as a couple on the TikTok.
Yeah. A society of corpses. Okay, the church was full of corpses. As I stood, Alexandra buried her face in my chest. So she bent down? Alright. Not bearing to see the havoc as a strange figure standing at the altar. His claws were jagged. Beside him was a skinless body. He wore the skin like the average fool wear clothes. The average fools wear clothes. Okay, so people are idiots for wearing clothes now. Can anyone do anything to you? Okay, fine. His eyes were slits. He's Brock from Pokemon.
Does it say that his eyes were slits?
Yeah, his eyes were slits.
There we go. Okay, his eyes were slits.
No, this is the new character.
Oh, the new character.
This is the new character wearing someone's skin.
Oh.
His mouth was a crack that spread from twisted ear to twisted ear. His pupils were green flames that seemed to burn the slits that they dwelled in. Look upon me and know me better, man, the figure said, his voice ringing in my mind a minute after he had finished speaking. Isn't that what the Ghost of Christmas Present says in Scrooge? Look upon me and know me better, man.
That's probably where you go from then.
Is he Scrooge? Oh, yeah. Do you have a name, or do Killers of the Week call themselves King? I queried. Obvious first reaction. Yeah, excuse me, what's your name? I know you've killed all these people, but what's your name? Call me Sorvad. Hang on. His name is Davros, spelled backwards. Could you tell I like Doctor Who? Even then. Strange name. You know a chap called Bezic? Your name is Marlon. How many Marlons do you come across? Alexandra's the only one with a keeping name who's still alive. Okay. He looked around. You seemed unfazed by the pile of mortal bodies surrounding you. Look at my face. My mum's dead. Look at my face. I don't care. I wasn't on good terms with the people of this town. That's because you kept insulting them. Every day. When you were 8. The rows of chairs had been smashed. Pieces of them were lodged in the bodies of the deceased. Blood spatters coated the walls. Alexandra turned to see the maniac that annihilated the entire populace of the town. Again, can the entire population fit in the church? How big is this town?
Must be a really old, small town.
Sorvad pointed at his... Sorvad pointed his decrepit claws at her. What a lovely companion you have obtained. Who speaks like this? With that, she stood next to me, proud and strong. She smiled. Okay, I'm more terrified of Alexandra right now. Maybe these people would have helped Demon Boy if he wasn't so clearly evil from 8. Exactly! I don't think... I think the demon thing was just an excuse. They wanted to throw him in a tower for ages. He was terrible at nursery. My name is Alexandra, she said, a fiery passion in her voice. She's more terrifying than the demon in this. Her name is Meaningless, replied... Oh, so your name is Meaningless, replied Hellspawn, his skin matching the texture of a shadow. Are you trying to say he's got black skin? Because that is a weird way of putting it. So he ripped the skin off a black guy and is wearing it. Okay. That's clothes. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's kind of racist past me. Why the fuck would... I don't think I even describe skin unless it's...
Sam said something.
Maroon at this point. He liked Belle from Beauty and the Beast. No, Belle at least was nice and had reason for the people not liking the town because they kept calling her strange. He's just a dick. Oh yeah, I never liked to leave a job half finished. His body set ablaze with the same glow that his eyes were alight with, the blaze that shot out of his body like a cannon. Okay? Just before it hit its target, I found myself staring into her face, shielding her defenseless body with my own unholy body. Just say you blocked it, dude. Strange flex, but okay. I don't know what's going on anymore. I heard something small drop to the floor. I quickly turned to see the owl's charred remains on the floor. Okay, so the owl came in and also blocked the fire and is now dead. How didn't you notice the owl come in? Okay. Sorry, the texture of a shadow is bugging me. No, that would mean shadows don't have texture. That doesn't mean anything! Okay. Answer me this, Sorvad. Oh, okay. Answer me this, Sorvad. How is it that you can wipe out an entire town, but you can't annihilate one demon and one girl? I asked. Are you just trying to... Hedwig, no!
You didn't like Harry Potter at first.
Is that why I made the owl die? Because I didn't like Harry Potter? Alright. Sorvad's eyes burnt brighter and he blasted the owl's remains again. Why? Were you aiming for the owl? Okay. Only this time intentionally. Okay, so he... Why? Oh, you've made me mad. I'm going to blast the dead thing. Until it was nothing but a pile of feathery splinters. He lowered his arm and the blaze around him began to die down. He moved in close to us. I rushed him. Moving faster than the wind, I slashed with my claws and stabbed with my tail. My claws became lodged in his jacket, so somebody's skin. Wait, he's got a jacket. Has he got like a modern style jacket?
Oh, okay. So he's wearing clothes.
Yeah, he's wearing people's skin as clothes. The villain, I think. I'm assuming it's the villain. It's so obvious, the thing. I had pierced it and clawed his shadowy skin. Oh! Sorvad's made of shadows. But he's wearing... How are you made of shadows and wearing skin? What does that look like? Alright. Sorvad backhanded me and I slammed into the wall. And there was much rejoicing. Ironically, right next to the big gaping hole that was the door. I blacked out for a moment. When I opened my... Okay, let's say when my vision came back. So he doesn't have eyes. Okay. I saw Alexandra crouched over me. Mummy? Marlon, are you okay? She asked, eyes wide open and smiling. You've been injured. I'm happy. Don't question that. This will be a rabbit hole. How far are we through this? Halfway through. How long have we been live?
We started at 4, so... Well, not 4, 4:15. It's now 6:04.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
So 2 hours.
Alexa, how long left on timer?
You have 19 minutes left on your 8-hour timer.
I'm charging my mobility scooter.
Okay, so you might as well go on for 19 minutes.
Oh, I'm going on till I'm done.
Okay, he's going to go on until he's done.
I'm going to read this and finish it. Okay. New plan. First I get my revenge on the simpleton who dared disrespect my will, and then we find Bezic and get answers, I replied. She giggled and pulled me to my feet.
Oh, she's still alive.
Okay, Alexandra's scaring me. She's taking this all in stride. Yeah, you're fine. It's okay now, Sorvad is gone. Wait, so he killed the entire town, backhanded Marlon, and then buggered off. Alright. What? She was right. He had disappeared. My claws dripped with blood that looked like water from the river of the underworld. What does that mean? I looked at Alexandra's face. She seemed overjoyed, even though not 2 minutes ago a strange figure had tried to kill her. Why did he leave? Alexandra, what's wrong with you? Are you a serial killer? Okay. I don't know. That flame around him went out and he just left. He said something about needing more. What, clothes? I think she sensed that I wanted redemption. She put her hand on my shoulder. You wanted redemption? Nothing you have said has been redemption. Why don't we just go find Bezic? If he does know something about what's been going on, he may know something about Sorvad. I mean, they say it's best to know your enemy before you face them. I chuckled for a moment. I took her hand and led her outside the church. She did have a point. Bezic would probably know something about this enemy. Why? Why would Bezic know? All we know is he's the town outcast. We don't know why. Is he an alcoholic? Alexandria like the Joker with 24/7 smile. Yeah. I'm convinced she's a demon. I'm convinced. I could not have written her so happy-go-lucky that she's just immune to anything that goes on. Like, okay. What's been going on? You may have blah, 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 blah. As I pulled her, she asked about the owl and if we should go back for the creature. It's hella dead. Why would you go back? I had to admit, the owl must have had some use for us if it wanted to keep us alive. It's a lot of assumptions about an owl. In fact, as I look back, I noticed that the owl had been there since I got out of the tower. What did it want? Perhaps it had a master. More questions I had to... Why did I fall the page? More questions I had to answer.
Maybe that's where you got up to last time in the old video.
We reached the outskirts of the town. I let go of Alexandra's fragile hand and looked into her eyes. They were unusually wide. She seemed unfazed by the fact someone had killed the entire town and tried to kill her. How do you do that? I asked. Do what? She replied in unusual ignorance. How do you just brush off the fact that you almost just faced your own mortal demise? I just look on the bright side. No lines to the shop? I don't know. Maybe I just want to be an owl in life. Yeah, maybe it's just an owl doing its thing and giving you coins. Oh, I don't know.
Keep reading, don't worry.
Okay, look. What's up?
Alright, I'm just gonna see who doesn't really come in here much now.
Okay. There we go. I stood there, dumbfounded at her answer. You and me both. A lot of my mental strength at this point went to trying not to become infuriated at her display of stupidity. Am I writing Pinky in the Brain? Maybe it's just... I feel like I'm writing Pinky in the Brain. Except Brain is an idiot. What bright side could there be? If the sky represents our own predicament, then it says covered in dark clouds that are close to raining blood. What glimmer of light could possibly be? That makes no sense. She put her hand on my cheek and sighed. Well, you started to smile, and the people of the town can now be truly happy.
Thank you for sharing the live.
I walked off, not sure why I was smiling so much. Because you are both sociopaths. I'm not well. I'm having to read this.
I'm good. I'm enjoying him reading.
Glad you are. What the fuck is going on? For someone of so much joy, you have a sort of morbid outlook sometimes. Come on, we're not too far from Bezik's residence. She skipped like a little girl in order to reach me. Alexandra had become a very perplexing young woman. Perplexing's a word. I'm pretty sure she's a demon too.
And Alexander's love interest.
At last, we reached Bezik's home. It seemed hollow. So, our settings have been the town, the church, the tower. It seemed hollow. We walked in to find that it had a new feature. Oh, sweet! TV! To replace the old ones. What was the feature? We walked in to find out it had a new feature.
You're going to have to tag me
them.
and Matthew.
Okay, so I've drawn something. I don't think you're ready, Matthew. I wasn't ready the moment I started reading. What is this? Oh, okay. So, the only thing left in that house was a swirling orb hovering in the air. It's pretty normal. When the orb started to glow with the same flame as Sorvad, we both slammed the door and momentarily took cover behind the tree in front of the house. Oh my god! Why does he think he's a sexy boy?
I'm just going to show the viewers.
Oh my sweet lord. He is a sexy boy.
Flip the camera.
He's just posing wherever he goes. That is a really good drawing of how quickly you've done that. That is fantastic.
Well done. That's brilliant.
Why does he... Why? Why? Yeah, this is
is Marlon now. He's a sexy boy.
You want to keep on reading while I'm showing the image?
I'll try.
This is the main character, everyone.
This is Marlon. He's this is a very accurate. I love this. Needs to be on a shirt. Yeah, we can sell it. Marlon's shirt. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, we took cover behind the tree in front of the house. Oddly enough, I spent many an hour sat under that living wooden statue reading books. Living wooden statue. That's not how you describe a tree! The door creaked open and the creature stepped out. What creature? It stood tall and the flames around it were as bright as the sun. I stepped out from the cover, hand readied myself for another confrontation. I thought of it as practice for Sorvad. Okay, so it's not Sorvad.
Let's flip you back.
It resembled my new demonic self, except it had 4 giant black crow wings as it used as a cloak. Its tail had 3 points at the end, making it resemble a pitchfork. I reached in my pocket for the coin. Okay, so it's confirmed. He has pockets now, still. So that's still accurate. He's got Hulk trousers. Now imagine how he looked when he had no eyes for the longest time. Just...
Yeah, this is him.
I grew, and so did my cloak.
Let's show him
hang
again.
on. I reached in my pocket for the coin. I grew, and so did my clothes. I wasn't sure why. So your clothes grew with you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's canon. This is what he was wearing as an 8-year-old.
And he has pockets.
Don't point at his dick. The coin radiated with the warmth of a mother's love. What does that even mean? I raised my claw, ready to strike this new foe, while still holding the bloody coin. The coin continued to remind me of my mother. He's got mummy issues a lot. He has pockets, I know! Tail envy. Just compensating for what? Tails. It's a potluck. Okay, where is it? Oh, yeah. Just as I was about to step forward and declare war on the demon, I was greeted with a gust of wind. I looked up. The owl was alive. Or it could be a different owl. But does he even have one, Matthew? I was questioning if he had eyes. I don't know what's going... I don't want to ask my 15-year-old self, does he have a dick? I'm afraid to answer. I looked up. Okay, it rested on the new creature's head. Very small owl. Alexandra came out from hiding and rested her hand upon my shoulder. The creature's face was eyeless, just like mine, yet I could still sense that it was staring at me, like it had known me previously. State your business. Did I just not like demons having eyes? Is it a war if it's 2 people? It's a fun war. He's going to go up to them and go... Okay, where was it? The owl's head turned to its side. Goddamn owl. What you got against owls?
Dude's still eyeless.
I found myself speaking with an angry tone. Well, if you're not here to kill us, what are you doing intruding on our mission? Do you expect everyone to kill you? Okay. Okay, he's definitely your son, said the owl as it stared down at the demonic being in front of us. Oh, we've met the daddy boy! A talkative owl? Well, why not, I thought. Oh, talking owl. Alright. Does anything faze this kid? 18-year-old. I'd seen Stranger in the past 2 days. The owl spoke with an old woman's voice. Okay. It was like a banshee screech crossed with that bird that you first crow when you hear while walking through a decrepit wood. Was I writing two sentences at once there? I suppose I'd better explain, the creature interjected. I suggest you follow me before Beswick returns. Casual demon, just fine. Alexandra started to follow him into the orb. Wait, what? Okay, she looked back and saw me standing my ground. Come on, she called out. You heard the owl. You're his son. Don't you want to know more about him? What is anyone's motivation?
Okay, you ready for the new one?
No, I'm not ready for anything. Everyone is stupid. The eyes. Oh wait, I can't see anything at all. Oh my god. Why is Marlon such a I hate it. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Reluctantly, I followed and entered the orb. Immediately, we were transported to a world familiar yet distant from the one we were used to. Okay, I'm not going to describe the orb much, am I? It was a strange sensation passing through the orb. It was like falling to a deep sleep for a single moment and being greeted with a world that only knew devastation and the night sky. Throw a pie! Do something that isn't so angst. Wow, I can't believe she kissed him sooner. What a total eyeless stud. No. We were standing in what appeared to be a burned down remains of Beswick's house. Alright. The sky was littered with stars, but it did not shine with the light mortal men are used to seeing in the dead of night when they look up in the search of a glimmer that they could use to find their way home. That is a long-ass description. No, these stars shone with the same light a warrior has in his eyes when he's ready to cut open his opponent with his sword. The tree was lifeless, and its leaves were small, blood-soaked eggs. This world was some sort of parallel to our own. Oh, that's the second world. A world where nightmares are reality. A world where creatures rule and the night was everlasting. It felt just like home. You got your Game Boy taken off you, didn't you? That's why you're... Excuse me, eggs? Yeah, it says eggs. The leaves were blood-soaked eggs. I don't know! My tea is ruined. Okay. My supposed father led us to this world's equivalent of the church. That's a long-ass walk.
Is he going to eat the eggs?
Apparently, I'm just not going to touch upon the eggs ever again, which remained fairly intact. As we entered, he sat down on one of the benches and whispered something into the owl's ear. Alexandra sat down beside him and patted the space beside her. I sat down, and then the silence fell once again. A lot of people sitting now. I believe I should explain, started the demon father. So, of course, I had to walk all the way to a church. I couldn't just tell you where we were, because reasons, I don't know. My name is Sigan? Sigan? The owl you've met is Penentia, one of my oldest friends. These aren't names. The owl came back as soon as its name was said. It dropped a basket of apples onto my lap. Alexandra immediately started to dine on them. Sigan continued to explain. I sent Penentia to watch over you. She did a shit job. Why couldn't you? I interrupted. The orb that brought us here has been The orb that brought us here had been there only once before. I had to stay here. If I had stayed in your world, I would have been hunted down. Alright? Why not just strike me down? You're a creature of great power. It should be easy. He stared at me and sighed. I made a promise to a very special woman a long time ago. The only reason I'm not killing you now is because your mum said not to. My mother asked you not to kill? Yeah, Claudius's mother. Yeah, that sounds just like her. She was always asking people not to kill me. Honest. I am sorry you had to lose her. How did you know she's dead? Okay, because you... Alexa, stop. Because you've mentioned it every 5 fucking minutes. Whoa, I can feel how mad he is about his daddy and being around. Oh, wait, no longer. He's super cool with it. Panentia informed me. So how did you meet Marlon's mom? Alexandra decided to chime in. Yeah, there's a new realm. Some trees have eggs on them. And this owl can talk. But how did you meet his mum? Oh my god, it's how I met your mum. I'm back, sorry, my mum called. You didn't miss much. You know whose mum didn't call? Marlon's.
Would you like to see what Marlon looks like?
No. What canon depiction of Marlon? What's worse is those are actual lines. Like, he said this. The eyes are hatred windows. I can't see anything. That's a long story. Back when I was free to roam between the worlds and yours, back when the portal orbs were scattered around this town. Is life a video game? Alright. I used to annihilate fighters who heard of me and wanted to be able to brag about killing a demon. This was regular. Long. He can chat with my mum if he likes. They both seem a bit mad. His mum's dead. She can't.
Oh, is she? Dum dum dum.
Oh god, don't let that be a twist. They obviously had never met a demon like me before. Men would fight me in my territory. Territory? I queried. You know it as the site where Bezik's house now occupies. Okay. So they would call for a challenge and I would rip them. He turned and saw that Alexandra was getting a little less giddy, so he decided to cut to the part where he met my mother. I had to admit, even I was curious to how I was created.
Thank you for the roses.
Then I offer mine as tribute.
Anything we get tonight is going towards takeaway.
It helps the more more pictures to scan. See, now you've got his father, Sigan, who has 4 big crow wings for some reason. Anyway, he continued, one day, someone different called for me. When I appeared, I saw your mother, a vision of beauty, standing there with food. She instantly won my heart.
No, there's not a roach on the wall. They're bats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've even got bats over there too.
Okay. A basket of bread and some apples. I asked her why. She said she had heard about people fighting me, and she wondered what would happen if someone showed me kindness. We sat there, eating. Demons only need to eat for pleasure. Okay. Food is... What is that handwriting? Oh, food is a rare thing in our home world. Wait. Is he a Reaper from Death Note? Well, mortal food is. Oh my god, someone who brings snacks is wife who I relate. That's the one thing past me got right. How do you think she married me? While we ate, I told her that I killed every opponent, and she just smiled and said if people go looking for a kill, they live a sad life. Okay, apparently Marlon's mum was a sociopath too. She took me being
She took me being a killing demon really well. Your mother was a strange individual, yes. I pointed at Miss Sunshine. I know the type. Alexandra turned to me and chuckled. She's always chuckling, Alexandra. Why is she always chuckling? Hang on. Is that old candle holder? Oh yeah, that's the skull candle holder.
Yeah, skeleton.
Well, I think it's sweet. She wanted to know the real you, she suggested. Indeed, I shrug. For the next few weeks, she brought me food at the same time, continued my father. I grew rather fond of her. I'm sorry, were you a dog? I grew up... Oh, yeah. When I decided to tell her...
Thank you for the mic.
She told me she felt the same way. You fell in love with her, Alexandra decided to chime in once again. I feel like that would have been a better story to tell about a demon falling in love just by food. You bring me food, I love you now. Sent a mic. What's a mic? Alexandra has been trying to awkwardly for the past few months, but she can't seem to enjoy.
A mic is a gift.
Oh. Oh. Oh yeah, chime in again. Next page. He's about to get to that part with Marlon, said Penetia. Are you alright, dearie? I wasn't sure how to respond, so I just ignored the winged annoyance. You've just met this owl and you're already insulting it. Should I take that as a yes? I looked to my father for him to continue his story. Sigan used his devil's weapon tail and smacked Penetia to the wall. Why? Like, why are you being a dick to the owl? Okay. That owl took a lot of pain. Yes, it did. On the other hand, I saw how Sigan kept himself entertained in the decaying ruin of a town. Okay, the implication is your father is also a sociopath who just likes smacking around things. Insult are his love language.
And Alexander seems to love it.
Oh, well, I'm not going to kink shame. Alright, I can take a hint. I'll keep my trap shut. Penetia seemed almost unscathed by the impact. She just smiled as if her and my father were long-time friends, and that hitting her was just an inside joke I didn't understand.
Hitting.
Pardon me?
Domestic violence in this.
Yep. Sagan continued to tell of my genesis. And then they fucked. Is the next part of that story, Marlon. That's how you... Okay. Your mother and I grew rather close over the next year. One night, we expressed our love. Okay, so his father does have a dick.
So Marlon must...
He may also have... What exactly is love? I asked. Nope, not gonna go with that. I looked over to Alexandra, who was wearing a face as bright as the king's gold, sparkling in the light of the sun, shining through a single hole in her chest. It was a long simile. Her mind was in a different, much simpler place. My father started to explain. Love is an emotion that can lead beings to their doom or to their goals. So Marlon does not know what love is. The emotion. I don't think... But he knows what hatred is. All beings experience it at one point or another. I haven't. I exposited. You will, young one. What makes you so sure? All beings do, even demons. Indeed. Well, what about you? What about your friend there? He nodded to Alexander's direction. She had dozed off and was using my shoulder as a pillow. How long has he been talking? She just goes, why? You're talking to a demon and a talking owl.
Talking.
How should I know if she has experienced love? I inquired. No, I mean, how do you feel about her? She's a truly unique young lady. Indeed, Sagan smiled. I decided to dismiss his remark. Well, whatever emotion convinced you to create me, it does not matter at all. All I want to know is what caused you to leave one world and be stuck in the next. Okay, something disturbed the portal that day. The townspeople found out about me and tried to hunt me down. Okay, you've said that people hear about you and come and fight you. How did the town, not far away, not know about you? You were like their tourist attraction. They should be having shirts going, I died, to the demon with fucking wings. Are there other demons? Okay. But this is so bad. Okay. Your mother made me promise not to kill them. I drove them back to my old territory, but at that point, Bezic had built his house there. Of course. I hid there and saw the portal. Stupidly, I rushed through it, knowing that if I was to fight the townsfolk, I would not be able to hold back and would likely end up killing them all. You have wings! You have 4 wings! Fucking fly! Go away! Grab your wife, companion thing, and bug off! Ugh. The portal closed the first time in recorded history. Okay. About 10 years ago, it opened again. But it wasn't stable, so I sent Penentia to watch over you. Which is why I was stuck in a tower for 10 years, I stated. The owl's eyes suddenly widened. Oh, so that's where you were, she said. Like she's playing hide and seek. Maybe he can't fly like penguins. Smashed out is defo in this now. Smushed out. I need a moment. Okay, so he's got 4 wings that do nothing. We're going on that theory. Okay. Oh, here we go. I swatted the pest with my tail. She went rolling through the air, but she didn't smash against the wall like she did when my father did it. Clearly, I had a lot to learn from him. How to abuse? What? Oh, God. Okay. Sagan finished his story by telling me that recently the portal fully opened again. After he finished, the ruins of the church echoed with applause. Alexandra awoke to see that she was now resting on the bench, and the rest of us stood ready for the ominous being to step forward. She stood up as well, but not before Penentia perched on her shoulder, a decent view of what was going on. Okay. The applause faded, and Sorvad faded in from the shadows on the walls. How long had he been there? Was he just patiently waiting? That's very nice. Just a brilliant story there, Sagan, but it has a few missing pieces, he boasted. He snapped his fingers, and all the benches dissolved into the ground. Okay, you can control the area. It's cool. Sagan spread his wings, blocking our view of Sorvad, and vice versa. Okay. Penentia pulled on Alexandra's clothes, and she in turn grabbed my hand. We were led out of the church. How? I pulled them back and sped back into the false holy place. I think he means he ran back. Lol, everyone say Sorvad, I hear Big Bad. Oh, God. That is probably why I called him it, to be fair. Sounds like Big Bad. Sorvad and Sigan were fierce in claw-to-claw combat. Sorvad just pulls out a gun. I rushed in to assist, using my demonic speed, of course. Of course, he didn't just stroll in. We fought for what seemed like a millennium, slowly turning the church into rubble. All the while, Alexandra and Penentia were shielding themselves behind an incomplete wall. Every time we tried to strike Sorvad, he simply blocked it. How was it he could match our speed? Okay, so both of them are super speedy. Oh, because if he's a demon, he's probably super speedy too. So, I don't know. I'll admit, I was fairly new to fighting, but somehow I could feel instinctively... I'll admit I was fairly new to fighting, but somehow it seemed instinctive. Must have been a demon thing.
Okay.
Just as Sorvad had managed to put some distance between himself and our attacks, a brick collided with his head. I turned and saw that Alexandra found it and launched it at the cretin. Alright, Alexandra's getting in. That's good. To her, this was just another game, except rougher. Her smile confirmed that. Okay, Alexandra's frightening me more than any demon in this. The church fell silent. The sounds of claws rushing through the church, the sounds of claws rushing through the air only to be blocked by skin that had been ripped off a mortal man's feeble bones, had disappeared, and in its place was nothing. The brick to the skull had caught Sorvad off guard. Sigan seized the opportunity and tried to drive his claw into the shocked Sorvad's eyes. Okay, so Sorvad has eyes. He succeeded. Sorvad twitched for a moment. His body became limp, but he didn't fall to the floor. Victorious, Sigan tried to pull his hand out of Sorvad's sockets. He failed. The lifeless body dropped to the floor and dissolved into the shadows, dragging my father. I grabbed his arm in an attempt to pull him from his demise. Then Alexandra joined my attempt. We both pulled with every ounce of our will. Penentia, being nothing more than a flying punching bag, could do little more than cheer us on in feathery annoyance. Okay, your moaning and yowls not helping.
I'm just going to go turn your scooter off while you still tell your story.
Okay.
There we go.
Hi. Okay. This is a weird day. Lol, okay. Where was I? Okay, here we go. A mysterious force was now pulling my father into the shadow-carpeted ground.
Alexa, turn hallway light on.
Okay.
The force grew strong and managed to pull Sigan from our grip. I saw my father's face just before it perished. He looked calm, like he had accepted his fate. Ah, he really is your father. He doesn't react to anything as well. He looked at me one last time and smiled. I felt outraged. You only ever feel anger, Marlon. You have issues. You know, it's been a while since you mentioned your mother is dead. You're about due for it. Sorvad had taken the one being who I had actually come to respect and ended his life. Gotta unlock it, Haley! Okay. The man you knew for like 5 seconds, you respect. Alright. Wait, was that his only purpose? To come in, explain, and go die? The darkness seemed to concentrate its shadow on the very spot where my father was slain. Out of the shadow, something was emerging. At that moment, Penentia's claw...
She's not unlocking that thing, right? Respect, I mean I've had cheese in my fridge longer. He didn't even get by you, Nintendo. I don't know what's going on with Marlon. He gives respect to a guy you just met. He could be lying, by the way, about being your dad. You're just sort of accepting this. At that moment, Penetia flew from Alexandra's side to in between me and the emerging terror. I suggest you run, dearies, she squawked. The owl squawk? I feel like that's not a owl thing. I of course ignored her, but then she said something I couldn't ignore. Segan would have wanted you to be safe. Okay. Wait. My mum that raised me half my life, if all dead I guess, but daddy showed up and then shakes my world. He's kind of forgot his mum's dead. I think. Oh. I am nearing the end of this abomination. Oh, good. Okay. Besides, you're in no fit state to avenge his death now. You should run and plan. Two things became apparent at that moment. One, Penetia could act like a logical individual, and she just acted like an annoyance to make it easier to smack her across the room. What? Who hurt you? Even before you were a demon? You're kind of a dick. Two, for once, I was wrong. I turned my back on the owl and bent down, readied myself for a long run. Alexandra, I want you to get on my back. I'm getting Twilight vibes, and that's not good. I said. She simply nodded. As soon as she had wrapped her arms around my neck, I ran. I ran faster than light travels to illuminate the darkness. Pretty sure that would kill her, if she's on your back. While I ran, I pondered about the changes my father went through when he met my mother. Was love that powerful? I have no idea. I thought about what had happened to me since that fateful day in the church 10 years ago. When I finally stopped, I felt the cool breeze greet my face. I let Alexandra off my back. She stared at me and smiled. She hugged me and brought her lips to my ear. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I remembered all those years ago, and I hugged her as well. A thunderous roar echoed through the air, and I let go of Alexandra. I moved her behind me, but then she stood next to me and continued to smile as she posed herself for what was heading for us. Oh, poised, I meant. I wasn't sure what she could do, and I don't think she knew. As it came closer, it became clear that we had nothing to dread. Something dropped to the ground as the familiar being flowed overhead. That something was Penentia's mutilated remains. He's taking death. What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. I think I wrote Marlon as a Vulcan. Because emotions, apart from rage, so he's a Vulcan Dalek thingamabob. I don't know. We stood there for a moment before the body moulded itself back into the owl who annoyed me so. Why does she annoy you? She hasn't done anything. She's an owl. Okay, an owl. Owl. Why am I saying it weird? Alexandra immediately picked her up and spun her around, laughing as if she had been reunited with an old friend. How did you survive? Miss Sunshine asked while perching the pest back on her shoulder. Why? I've had worse, was her answer. Would you mind telling me where my father is going and how he survived?
I queried, wondering if Sorvad had failed and hoping, for a change, he had been defeated. Penentia sighed. That's not your father up there. That's Sorvad, she replied. But he's flying. Okay, so he could fly. How is that? He came back with Sigan's wings, didn't he? And tail. Okay. So Sorvad now has Sigan's wings and tail. Because reasons. I mean, that's just random. Can you tell I had no plan for this? I've never found a plan for this novel. I just wrote it and hope for the best. I had hoped in vain. Life seemed much cooler than I had remembered it.
Alexa, all-way light off.
That would have been fine, except I had my fill of cruelty from being locked in a tower and being set alight twice. It seemed fate had only allowed my father to give me an explanation of my existence before it decided he was expendable. That's called poor writing, Marlon. Suddenly, I was struck with an idea. Someone from my past could help me. Penentia. She had been panicking while I pondered. Yes, Marlon? Which way to Bezik's home? Why? While I visited him on numerous occasions, I often heard him mumble on about a project while looking at a strange book. Perhaps that book could help us. That had no build-up whatsoever. And, that's just the thing that's happened now. Bezik had a book. This legendary Bezik. Who's doing fuck all. Okay. What would Bezik know that we don't? Do you think it's coincidence that the portal was in his home? Well, he built his home on the territory, remember? It wasn't... He didn't... Pardon me. He may have moved it there to observe it. He was fascinated by things like that. Okay. That could have used some foreshadowing. Very well. I'll lead the way, dearies. With that, she started flying ahead of us, slower than what I would have wanted, but Alexandra just suggested she was tired from the fight. I decided it was best not to complain, since she would probably end up causing our journey to last longer. As long as we arrived at Bezik's, part of me wondered why Sorvad hadn't come to finish us off. You're bored? He's bored? I'm bored! This is just a series of things happening. What is the plot? What is anyone's goal? Are you alright, Marlon? Asked Alexandra, without warning. Does she need warning to ask you? Alright. That was hardly the most important thing at the moment. Nevertheless, I nodded so she wouldn't worry. She started walking closer to me. She leant in. Are you sure? Again, I nodded. Are you sure? I nodded, but it was getting annoying. Are you sure you're okay? She asked. Are you sure? 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 Are you sure?
I forgot that's from.
IT Crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure I am. Why must you insist on asking? Why must you check I'm okay? Final art sketch complete with Oh no. No, I'm not ready for another. Oh, I'm not ready for another.
Let me open the window for
No.
Keep on reading. Then I'll look at a sketch.
Why does she want to torment me today? Okay, I forgot where I was. Okay. Why'd you insist on asking? To keep your mind off things, she giggled before running to catch up with Penentia. It was at that moment I noticed how she was so happy. She focused only on others, rather than herself. If she did what she would have now, how terrible of a turn her life would have taken. I decided I better to be the one to tell her I ran up to her, which took a second, and asked how she was. Okay, fine, but thank you for asking. Not the answer I was thinking I'd get. Once again, she leant in, but this time she kissed me on the cheek and skipped off ahead. Nothing phases her. I could have drawn anything, but can I say inspiration strikes at random? I'm scared to look. Haley.
Okay.
I'm scared to look. I think they've sent you it. Okay. There's the eyeless chap.
Alright, ready?
No, I'm not ready. At all. Okay. I love the owl on the...
I've never seen water.
I can't see anything at all. My spike game is strong.
Leaves burned.
Lock pickers. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. Woo, you're doing great. Encouraging Al getting abused. Coin, just like Mum, it exists.
Oh god.
Okay. Okay, blah blah blah. Got a kiss on the cheek. Before I could wonder why we had arrived at the portal, we stepped through and I felt the same sensation I did the first time. Bezzik's home was small. It was only intended for one person. Cool. Really, it was just one big room with furniture in it. You said there wasn't anything in it before. We set to work looking for the book he had spent so long obsessing over, which we only just remembered. Once again, I found myself alone with my thoughts. I know Alexandra and Penentia were there, but... fuck 'em. While we looked for it in the different areas of the house, every time I tried to focus on a single thought of my mind always brought a different one to my attention. The same one was brought to my attention each time. Alexandra. My cheek was still warm from her lips' influence. No matter how many other things I tried to think about, she remained the dominant thought in my mind. The frustration grew until I unleashed it on the side of Bezzik's house, bringing down his wall. That's a weak-ass wall. Yeah, he's got no eyes, yet he sees everything. Is he Daredevil? Does he have a radar? How does your anatomy work, Demon Me? It started a chain reaction, causing his home to crumble. We ran out of there and watched the only evidence of Bezzik's existence crumble into a pile of rubble, while leaving a cloud of memories and dust. The house had died, and all the sights and sounds it had beheld in its lifetime had little time to grieve. The portal orb remained as if it denied the laws of one existence, so that it could continue to oversee the passages that it quickly carried to another, more chaotic world. What is this writing? No, that's not a sentence. Whose memories you didn't know him? A full-on kiss didn't get a second thought, but yeah, true. Like kiss on lips, peck. Oh well. Oh, whatever was I? Okay, it was gone. The only item that could have led us back on the path of clear skies and purpose had been entombed in a missing man's room's corpse. What do you want to do, Marlon? You know where you're from. What the hell do you want to do? Do you want to rule the world? Do you want to settle down with Alexandra? Do you want to fucking do anything? Ugh. In a single instant of my life, all the rage that had been directed towards me flashed through my mind. The rubble body of Bezik's abode seemed to be the perfect piece of equipment for me to try and experience the power that the amount of spiritual rage could summon. What does that even mean? This is Purple Prose, the book. Where was I? In a matter of microseconds. Okay, so he knows microseconds. I take everything I've ever said about our Tower Boy. His lack of direction is relatable. He doesn't know what he's doing with life. I didn't know what I was doing writing this. I don't know what I'm doing now reading it. Nobody knows what they're doing. In a microseconds, I found myself hacking the rubble with my claw. If it could have bled, it would have been drenched in its own blood. I could hear ringing in my head. The more I hacked, the louder it got. When I did stop, I unmasked what the ringing was. It was Alexandra calling me. Her words were muffled as the rage I had compiled and launched at the house was slowly fading away from my very being. Her words became as clear as her sinless soul once my anger had settled. How do you know she hasn't committed sins? She might like robbery. Whoa, don't chip those lockpickers. Do you think he manicured? Is this the book? My head jolted to see what she meant. In her hands she held the book that Bezik had used so often as not only a fountain of printed knowledge, but a companion that listened to his every word. So Bezik just talked to a book for his day, that's fine. The book was just as I remembered it, a decrepit collection of parchment whose pages have been misshaped from years of handling. What does that mean? What does it look like? I found myself in front of Alexandra's smiling face, her hands stretched out, presenting me with a book that would have been lost in the home's rapid decay. It made my anger towards the ruins of the house seem out of place. You punched a wall! Damn, still on her innocence, dude. Maybe she's an android, the lack of emotions from her. Well, apparently printing presses exist at the moment, so as I grabbed the book, our hands met. Looking at Alexandra, she seemed different and yet the same. An unnatural warmth rushed through my body. For once the silence was welcome. So it was fitting that Penentia decided to break it. Okay, so you're just blaming the owl for cock blocking. Well, what does it say? She squawked. Again, I don't think owls squawk. Alexandra moved her hands from mine, draining the warmth from my body into her glimmering eyes. Without hesitation, I opened the book and skimmed through it. Each page was full of half-faded writing. They each had drawings that depicted creatures that would drive mortal men insane with fear and make their souls bleed through their eyes. Not that I had any. It's these drawings, okay, sending. That's what's in the book. Sexy lizard boy. That's what's in the book.
Sexy lizard boy.
Soon I came upon a page showing illustrations of Sorvad. Oh good, he's in the book. Very curious. What was he doing in Bezik's book? At least it meant Bezik did know something about him. He might not have got to that chapter yet. It might have been a new book. The description on the page described Sorvad as being sins taking form. It read, "In order to become the embodiment of mortal natural evil, you must drain your body of its blood to make room for darkness that will feed your heart. While your soul passes to hell, you must accept the name and identity of Sorvad, the being of perpetual power. This must be done while in sight of a portal that leads to the world's hollow essence. If you succeed, the essence will be your home. However, this unholy act has only been committed by one other mortal, and he failed, losing his soul to sins."
My brain can't brain this.
Neither can mine, and I wrote it, apparently. Okay, so basically, this isn't a description of Sorvad, it's instructions on how to be him. Bezik's Sorvad, isn't he? Oh, for fuck's sake. If you succeed, blah, 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 blah. If you do indeed succeed, you will be in a plane of existence all your own. How do you know if it hasn't succeeded before? A stunning revelation came to mind. Bezik, now spelled with an S rather than a Z, had used this very scripture to become Sorvad, yet we guessed. This answered one question, but raised more aggressive ones. Why would he attack me? Marlon, you don't need a reason to attack you. You're an absolute prick. So the centre of the earth has a caramel centre, that's what I heard. Yeah, apparently. Look, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm the only one that didn't ridicule him for his abnormal beliefs. Penetia and Alexandra were looking over my shoulder, trying to interrupt the scripture. Oh, interpret, not interrupt, Matthew. That's not how you spell that word. For themselves. I slammed the book shut, interrupting their focus from the book and creating a focus on me. What a brat. The vicar really got out of his... I wish I was the vicar. Then I wouldn't have had to read the rest. Bezik is Sorvad, I explained.
Oh, you're right.
So did the book help? Queried Penetia. Indeed it did. How? We only know who Sorvad really is. Yeah, you know the identity of the guy trying to kill you. Yo, no respect for slow readers. Reading too slow. Get the audiobook. That's probably because that's the only one I read fully. I'm sure there is something we can use to counter-attack him. Throw the book at him! Literally. Plus, it proves Sorvad is no different from any other pest I've encountered. He's wearing skin as a jacket and is made of shadows. Yeah, you meet those every Thursday. We'll search through so I can go back and kill Sorvad. Alone? So he had an adult reading level at 8. Okay, gift mode learning tower boy. You've got a point. Alright, so he was a very well-educated 8-year-old. Okay. You need to be safe. Preposterous. The dark being killed my father. Prepared to die. I feel I am obliged to avenge his death. It's in the protagonist's rulebook. I have to take revenge. Is there anyone you haven't taken revenge on yet? I may not have known him for long. Just 5 minutes. But he couldn't be blamed for that. Penetia tried to use her talons to grab the book and fly away, but I had other plans that required the book. Are you actually going to hit him with the book? Okay. My forceful pull of the book caused the owl to drop to the ground. Alexandra rushed to her aid. As Penetia flew back onto Alexandra's shoulder, I proceeded to search the book for something. You know, owls are quite heavy. Well, as Alexandra is a very poor reader and has sat statically for 10 years. Did she not go to school? Wait, is there school? They never mentioned school. Okay, whatever. I proceeded to search the book for something I could use against Sorvad. The book was full of illustrations of creatures that appeared to be much more demonic than anything I ever encountered. Counting yourself, you've met 3 demons, and you're half one. Then I stumbled onto something that I knew would be my key to victory. It just says win button. I ripped the page out and put it in my pocket. Luckily, the tattered remains of my trousers still had pockets. We know you've put stuff in it before. I continued looking through the book. Bezic used this book to become Sorvad, which is probably why he disappeared for a while. So, what the fuck was he doing for 10 years? Lol, the whatever sigh when that soul left his body. He's just gone. Okay, become Sorvad, which probably disappeared for a while. But what motive did he have for attacking me? Or ending my father's life? I had to think of a way catching Sorvad off guard, or at his weakest, without getting Alexandra involved. She really had nothing to do with this. She was just along for the ride. That's a character. Yep, that's definitely a character. I have a proposition for you two, I announced. Penetia and Alexandra immediately stood tall and looked at me with wide eyes, curiositedly. It's not a word, Matt. I suggest Penetia goes to challenge our friend Bezic, bringing him to the centre of the town. At that point, we trap him. They could have asked me to give more information. They could have asked me what the backup plan was, but they didn't. They trusted me. Why? Just why? Trust. Trust could be a powerful weapon. Like any other weapon, it's much more destructive when it's misused. Sadly, Alexandra seemed like the kind of person who would trust anyone she meets. A foolish decision. Okay. We're nearly done.
We're nearly done.
We're getting there. Okay. Penetia flew through the portal to find Bezic. Not uttering a word, Alexandra proceeded to skip her way back to town. That was ridiculous. How could she just agree with my plan without knowing all the details? I felt enraged. How could they be so careless? Why are you a dick? Why? She's your friend? I charged at Alexandra, picking her up like a man picks up his mindless dog. Why are you mean to her? I had the book in one hand and Alexandra by the collar of her silk shirt. The world wasn't designed for me. Rocks tried to obstruct my path, but I simply smashed through them. Injuring Alexandra while you're at it, I refused to stop. My plan was to drop Alexandra off in the room I was stuck in for 10 years. I could have locked her in to keep her safe. That was the plan. She caused me to change it. I was running, just running, dropping the book and curling the page. I didn't notice how far I'd gone. She was shouting. I stopped and put her down. Alexandra seemed to enjoy tossing the normal views of the landscape in favour of the blurred, surreal landscape I was getting used to.
I pulled the page from my pocket. The page told me that I must use Sorvad's very being against him, ripping him apart from his very core. So, punch harder is the plan. I could have left Alexandra there. I had to ask her something. I grabbed her shoulder, her shoulders, and once again found myself staring into her eyes, and through extension, her soul. That was where her childlike self was hiding, in the glorious glimmer of her eyes. She was confused, rightly so. You haven't asked me my plan. I tried to restrain my anger. I don't really need to. Why? For all you know, it could be something ridiculous. It is. So, I trust you. Why? I always have. Why? She didn't answer me. She didn't have to. She just proceeded to hug me. My anger grew. Something inside me didn't want Alexandra to be out of my gaze. However, I knew that I didn't want her involved in my fight. I had to tell her. My plan was to put you in the tower while I fight Bezic. Was? I'm not sure anymore.
Jodie's back and...
Young Matt was unsure how interactions with girls went, I think because she's like man's best friend.
Young Matt was an idiot. I'm back. Hi, Jodie. I'm nearly dead. I've
nearly near the end.
Hopefully. I don't even know what... There's no structure to this book. There's no chapter ends. It's just one long thing.
I know, I was thinking, where's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3?
There's no breaks at all. Currently cooking dinner.
Yeah, we need to sort out dinner after you finish this.
We do. She in turn... Nope. I'm sure you'll make the right decision. You're not curious why? I hope I know why. My hands found themselves caressing Alexandra's long, voluptuous hair. Okay. She in turn stroked my demonic hand. Her touch was as nurturing as the sun. We stood there until the life-giving light slowly lost interest in our escapades. I think that means until the sun went down.
Can she ever walk or run or move in any other way besides skipping?
I don't think so. I don't think younger me knew people could just walk. I didn't know what to do with Alexandra. I couldn't risk her safety, but I felt I couldn't do it without her presence. I wondered what had happened to me. I never needed her before. Did I? Regardless, we came up with a plan. Bezic was dead, and soon Sorvad would be. Sorvad was impatiently away. Hayley,
Yeah.
could you do me a favour?
Yeah.
Entertain them. I need to take a break for a minute to also make teas.
If I could read your handwriting, I'd read it. Where are you?
I am up there. I'm going to...
Oh, God.
Yeah, good luck. Oh, Leg's dead.
You're doing a special live tonight. What are you going to do? Okay, so Sorvad was impatiently waiting for me in the centre of town. In the moonlight, the his handwriting's awful. The place, in the moonlight, the place seemed peaceful. A thought occurred to me that in that moment, where the corpses of the... It's like a grow party, Ash Out Live, that's good. Moonlight, this crap's going down, yeah! Where the corpses of the propers, or I don't know, of this town, or population, corpses of the population of this town, still carpeting the church. Pentinia, I think this is some sort of person, hobbled over to me. One leg and both wings had been torn off. I told her to seek sanctuary inside a nearby building. Sovad didn't move until Peninsula
I'm guessing.
had turned that corner.
Come see, Ellie.
Why? Is that Davros? I thought it was Davros then.
Why did you call me here?
Oh man, this church is popular.
Why'd you call him to the church?
Why did you call me here? I can't even see what this name says. I hadn't expected a civil conversation. You killed my father because I have the right to wipe you from a place of existence. Bezic, I've abandoned Joe. I found the book. I know the details. You are... A what? Matthew, I can't understand your writing.
Alright, you finish the tease.
You are... What's that say?
Awkward. Hobbled over to me, one like blah 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 blah. Bezic, I've abandoned. I found the book. I know the details. You are aware that I have nothing to gain from this challenge. Then why did you accept it? I wanted to know why you asked me. And don't give me the "it's for my father" line. You barely knew the simpleton. He's right. I mean, well, no idea why they were so heavy on those. Man, this church is popular. I believe you're doing it because I am what you would consider a worthy opponent. You always complained about how you were superior to everyone. And no one could match your intellect. No wonder they wanted to burn him. Am I wrong? Strange thing was, a part of me had indeed thought of that. Regardless, I had to focus on the job at hand. I had to stick to the new plan. Charging in, I had the plan running through my mind. Nothing could go wrong. And nothing can go wrong. Just before I had the chance to pierce his skin, well, the skin he wore, without flinching, Sorvad encased himself in a cocoon of flesh. As you do. I don't want to fight you, I just want to know what Stacey said to Jenny about Alice.
Civil conversation.
In it, I saw the faces of all those who he had slaughtered. Who had slaughtered, you mean, in the house of the false lord. Just call it a church, mate. Was I anti-religious as a 15-year-old chap? I slashed them, remembering all the gazes they gave me as a child. I'll do the tease. Thank you. They thought they were superior to me. Well, you thought you were superior to them, to be fair. When I was younger, I was waiting until I grew so I could look them straight in their quivering eyes and reduce them to what they really were. Pests for me to exterminate. I'm writing a Dalek. I'm writing a bloody Dalek. Okay. With each new slash, blood gushed out of the cocoon's wound. I realised that although I was actually enjoying myself for once, it wasn't putting Sorvad any closer to his well-deserved grave. I stopped. Blood was still oozing out of the new orifices. Just say wounds. I had given it. Okay. If this doesn't end with a sad ending, I will be shocked. We can only hope that someone dies. The flesh began to peel, slowly at first, and then it seemed to explode off him. I was stood behind him. Before he could act, I speared him with my tail. It caught him off guard. Seeing my chance, I pounced on his back and ripped my father's wings from his unworthy body. The wings turned to dust without some kind of blood fueling them. The attack brought Sorvad to his knees. How appropriate. Now! I commanded. Alexandra came out from her hiding place and uttered the words, Gadborn Voss. Lol, when you hope your characters don't make it. I want them to die, and I want to know what Gadborn Voss means. As the page instructed. I'm sorry, there was just words you could say? Why didn't you start with that? Fuck the fighting with claws, just say that and bug off. That was the plan. As soon as the words passed through her graceful lips and shattered through Sorvad's ears, Bezic was resurrected while Sorvad dissolved from existence. Bezic was wearing some sort of ritualistic robe. That was my moment. Something puzzled me, though. I had to confirm. Am I right in assuming that you were the one messing with the portal and giving the vicar that dream? I asked. His breathing harshened. Being Sorvad must have been keeping alive after he drained the blood from the ritual. Okay, then he should be just straight up dead. I think that's the spell in bed knobs and broomsticks to make a suit of... No, if that was the case, this would be much more entertaining. Give me suits of armour and singing. He was pathetic. I never got an answer. Bezic collapsed to the ground. He wasn't worth my time. Stop being an arrogant dick. I turned my back on him. As I was about to reach Alexandra, her expression transformed from one of joy to one of concern. Sorvad was stood behind me. Wait, what? Persistent. No. Confusing. If... Call it Alexandra was behind it all along. Whoa, plot twist. Oh, it's got to be. Okay.
Has the music stopped?
Yes. What's going on? Alexandra, next question. Okay. Sorvad was stood behind me, persistent. His head was hung and he was motionless. Alexandra rushed by my side and actually attempted an act of physical violence by kicking him. Alright. As fast as a stillborn baby's life. I fucking hate
down
him.
again.
That is a dark simile, and I hate you. I hate past me.
Alexander's behind it all along.
That better be the twist. Sorvad grabbed her leg and pushed her back. However, before she could make contact with the floor, I caught her. Sorvad raised his head. He was laughing. The ground began to rumble. Everything around us began to fade from existence. We prepared ourselves for another attack. I charged again, but this time in vain. Something was stopping.
Matthew?
Yep. That's the darkest thing so far, and it's so out of nowhere. Yeah. No, it's just... the edge. Oh, what was I doing? Oh, something was stopping my being from piercing Sorvad's unnatural skin. It was as if the air proclaimed, "No more, you shall not harm this creature." Okay? And the air shouted, "Go away." A new landscape came to existence. We were stood next to the mad, infected river. There's a river now! Yeah, there's a river. As soon as every last trace of our previous landscape was gone, Sorvad rushed to dive in the river. I apprehended him by pulling back on the tail he had claimed from my father. The fire of Sorvad's eyes started to die as he stared into my being. This was part of the plan. Again, I shouted. Alexandra moved closer and uttered the words again. Gadborn Voss. What?
is it Latin? Air was like, girls don't fight. I don't know what's going on. Why is Sorvad still around? Was that in the book? Once again, we had brought Sorvad to his knees and resurrected Bezic. Oh, so Bezic became Sorvad again. Last time, something happened to reverse what we did. I wanted to see what that was. How do you know? It could just not worked. I wanted to... Okay. Probably. I couldn't risk him escaping, though. I held him by his neck, almost strangling him. A dark cloak covered him once more. With the last of his strength, he kicked me into the river. It burned me. The pain was... Okay, any water will apparently kill him. But then the river's... The arrow... I don't fucking know. The pain was reminiscent of all those years ago when I evolved beyond human flesh. I'm writing a Dalek. While I was suffering in the river, I noticed another figure dive in beside me. The pain was becoming too much to bear. I passed out to an easy rest. I still felt the pain. Part of me wanted to just end my infernal existence. I want you to end your infernal existence. Just die, please. Just die and shut up! But the rest of me knew that I must not bring myself to the level of the feeble-minded fools that used to populate my town. Well, younger me really didn't like the idea of suicide before he attempted it. Good grief. I could feel a solid substance keeping me still. Good. When my vision was restored, I saw Alexandra hovered over me. She was smiling, as always. Good. But I think she's crying. Yeah, it just says I think she's crying. Okay. It was difficult to tell. Her face was dripping with that water. Each drop burned me. She saw the bonfire that the droplets caused and collapsed next to me. The moon watched over us as we lay both trying to catch our breath with broken nets. With broken nets? Oh, catch nets, okay. We drifted to a peaceful sleep. My dreams showcased the people I had known, those who showed me kindness, and the feeble rodents who tried to kill me. What?
What?
What is happening?
I haven't seen who's on.
While I greeted those people who had earned some of my respect, a single question occurred to me. For what reason did Sorvad kill my father?
Are we almost done?
Ah! Damn it. Okay. I awoke to discover the fate of the book, which I had left in the forest so Sorvad wouldn't obtain it. Penetia was dropping the book in the water that set my soul on fire. I jumped to try and retrieve it, but failed.
Oh, there's another cat outside.
I was sick of failing. I speared the winged vermin with my tail and brought her closer so I could look into her soul before I ripped it into unrecognizable pieces. Good grief. She seemed different from before. Naturally, Alexandra woke up and rushed to my side. I could see she was confused. Wanting answers myself, I ripped Penentia's wings off and threw them into the liquid fire, incinerating them. Harsh. Alexandra carefully pulled the pest off my tail and began to pet it like a common cat. Okay. It was time to find out why the now wingless flying rat had seen it fit to get rid of the only item which could have aided us in killing Sorvad. You ripped out the page that did that, mate. You ripped it out, remember? Apparently the rest of the book's useless, so... Why do you care? Okay. I tried to restrain my anger. I was saving that anger for later.
And here's some langoy, mate.
Hang on.
Start explaining, vermin, I ordered. Why should I, dearie? Alexandra went from petting Penetia, to digging her nails into its head and dragging them against its skull, all the while smiling that natural smile of hers. Okay, Alexandra is a sociopath. Okay. It will take more than that for me to talk, sweetie. Miss Sunshine proceeded to hold the owl over the river. That certainly changed Penentia's mood. Alexandra trusted me so much she didn't question what I was doing. She just went along with it. Alright. Penetia began to screech with fear, music to my ears. Alright, I'll talk. When I went to get Sorvad, he proposed I get the book so you couldn't use any more spells. Alright, so there's more spells in there. I was tired of being only around...
You're struggling to read your handwriting again.
No, that doesn't actually make sense.
Oh.
I think that was added later. I was tired of being kicked around by your father, and I knew you'd be just like him. She's got a point. Just putting it out there. But I couldn't leave this little angel with you. So I asked Sorvad to kill you and leave her. I don't know why he didn't. We had a deal. Anything else? I asked. I'm the one who gave the vicar the water from this river. He discovered I was a demon, and in exchange for his secrecy, I told him where to get it. He was a vicar! He could bless water! He didn't need to know where the fucking water was! He could just bless it! Okay, and what about the dreams? Who gave him those? Why did you give him those? Why did any of this happen? You're an owl-looking creature. Why would he suspect you of being a demon? I haven't always had this form. Demon change form every 1,000 years.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Is it random? Does that mean if we locked Marlon in the tower for 1,000 years, he'd look different? Oh, sweet news. So how many forms have you had? That's a question for now. You should never ask a lady her age. She turned her attention to Alexandra. Why do you trust this guy? You seem like a lovely young lady. Leave this thing to his own devices and come with me to find a new life. I'm struggling to care at all about this. I just want to rip this off. Come on.
How many bloody pages left?
I've got through most of it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. I hate this already. I don't wanna die. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. She put Penetia on the ground. The wingless waste of life gave me a smug look. I would have thrown her into the water, but Alexandra gestured for me to stay where I was. The owl walked off to live another day. She stopped. She called out for Alexandra to follow. However, my loyal companion disobeyed her. Okay. Penetia became enraged. Alexandra grabbed my hand. Are you honestly saying that you'd rather stay here with him? She didn't reply. She just walked off with me in tow. Penetia didn't take well to being ignored and tried to tackle Alexandra, but tripped and bruised her pathetic face, of course. Naturally, being the strangest? Being the strangely kind soul she has always been, Alexandra helped the traitorous annoyance back up to her feet and pushed it to walk away as if she'd helped nurse a poor injured creature to health and was sending back to its proper place. The pest looked puzzled, while Miss Sunshine sneaked my claw back into her grasp to lead me, for a change, back to the town. Wait, where are you guys now? Oh wait, there's a river. You got the river still, okay. What is going on?
I don't know. It's your story.
Don't call it my story. I don't know what's going on. So here's the plan. We head back to town, find some comfortable beds to sleep in for a change, and then I was hoping you'd come up with something, she said with a fiery confidence that would keep the whole world warm.
Oh, Matthew, new comment.
Have you been reading this since... Yeah. I have been reading this since 4:30. It's a struggle to get through because it's so stupid and angst-written and the main character is a dick and I want to die. Send me alcohol. Do you know which way the town is? They should do. They live nearby. Yeah, it's about a 2 days walk. How far did you go? After she pointed the way, I tossed her onto my back and headed for the town at high speed that denies time its power over my journey. Just say you were going really fast, mate. Perhaps a more normal sleep might have allowed me to think of a long-term plan, but no, life had a more interesting idea for my next stop on the asinine field journey that was my life. Okay, I believe the more God-idolized human beings call it fate, but I call it Sorad not wanting me to get away easily. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I never saw Potentia again after that. After Alexandra worked her abnormal magic on her. The pest could have been dead for all I cared. By the expression on her face as we left, I think she pondered why Alexandra wasn't more angry at her. With Alexandra, you knew what she was thinking, but odds are they weren't thoughts of revenge. Any questions? Any questions at all? I have many. What does my life come to? Why am I reading this? Does this have alcohol in it?
No.
Then why did you give me it?
We got no alcohol.
Give me rubbing alcohol, I don't care. Sweet Moses. This is the most purple prose-ridden shit I have ever written. And I'm not even done. I don't even know how it ends.
You all start somewhere.
That is true, and it's also given me a lot of confidence for what I write now, because it can never be this bad. Okay. Upon arrival, we found that all the buildings had a single person standing outside the entrance. Could you start again? I missed the first 3.5 hours. You go to hell. No. I'm not starting again. No. I stopped dead in my tracks in front of one for a better look at the new guards of Contington. You mean to tell me we're near the end of the book
and only now did I bother giving the town a name. It's called Contington.
Okay.
Right. They were, in actuality, the corpses of the original inhabitants of the town, complete with battle scars from Sorvad. Before the simpleton could react, he's dead, why are you still calling him an idiot? I rushed us to the only place I could think of, the church. Is the church just the Winchester of this town? You go in there, wait for the whole thing to blow over.
But there's still corpses in the church.
That's a fair point. Funny how life works, isn't it? No. The church had been rebuilt. All the missing pieces had been replaced with brick, as opposed to wood. That glowed with this... had been replaced with brick that glowed with the same darkness Sorvad did. How do you glow with darkness? We were stood in front of the door. I took a moment to bask in the glory of killing him. Killing who? Oh, that's supposed to be for later. The door of the corrupted building. Alexandra held me tight for a moment before she realised we had completely stopped. She jumped off. Alexandra pushed the doors wide open, revealing my stepfather standing at the altar, preaching to the congregation of mindless savages that live, in a way, in the town. I didn't want to leave a job unfinished, so I simply pounced on him, driving my claws into his skull and pulled his head clean off his body.
I thought you already killed his stepfather.
He's killed him again, apparently. Couldn't just leave well enough alone. And pulled his head clean off his body, holding it up like a trophy. Sadly, that was a foolish mistake. Looking back to Alexandra, I saw the congregation begin to surround her. They were superior to me only in numbers. One by one, their heads plummeted to the floor, returning them to their true deceased state. There was one left. It was the corpse of some unknown tart who probably knew all the men very personally. It was your mum, Marlon! Why does this town have a tart? Lord, give me strength. Okay. Slowly, I crept up on her, preparing to strike her down. Why slowly? You have super speed. A knife flung by my head and struck the decomposing body, square between its hollow eyes. Alexandra had obtained the weapon from the pocket of a headless moron I had slain and tried and succeeded to help me for a change. Alright, Alexandra's just a really good shot of a knife. Do I have to mention she was smiling? No. This smile, however, was different. It seemed more appropriate, whereas before it just felt like she was smiling just because that was in her nature. Perhaps that smile had become a symbol of familiarity in a world that was constantly changing. In the house of the Lord, his subjects had fallen, where I, his enemy, had lived. But perhaps he had planned this to teach me something, to change me in some way. I didn't know anything new, but I did feel altered. Perhaps there was logic in the Lord's teachings. Before we could leave, the doors slammed shut, and an eerie applause bellowed from behind us. Sorvad was rising from the ground, clapping with his jagged claws. His glow seemed to be dying out. His essence must have brought the corpses back under his command. Why wasn't he using the same army of corpses to finish me off? A lot of assumptions. You are indeed a formidable foe, he announced. But without hesitation, Alexandra spoke these words again. Gad born Voss.
I saw my chance. Claws ready, I charged in this time, being sure not to give Sorvad an opportunity to come back. Breaking his rib cage. He has ribs? I thought he was made of shadow. I pinned him to the back wall and proceeded to convert his heart into a blood blob of mush. The shadows surrounding us began to merge with Bezic. Oh, right, he turned back into Bezic. I jumped back in time before Bezic once again died, just to have Sorvad be resurrected. I slowly returned to Alexandra's side. She seemed somewhat confused. Why are you doing all this? She asked, but not in the cliched convention. She asked with the same wide-eyed curiosity that children see the world for. Again, comparing her to a child is just fucking weird. Okay. I had to admit, I was eager to find out why as well. Oh, right. I wanted revenge. You've killed everyone in the town. Surely that is your revenge, she argued. True, but I also want control. But now I see. What about the children? What did they do? Oh yeah, there must have been other children. First time we're hearing about it. Please, don't interrupt. Okay. I think Sorvad saw the anger in Alexandra's eyes, because before either of us could act on that emotion, a wave of his hand morphed the floor into shadows that clutched. Arms out and feet to our feet and tail. Behind us the door ripped open as the rest of the deceased inhabitants of the town clamoured in, surrounding us. The crack where Sorvad's mouth should have been spread from ear to ear. It already was, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm getting lost.
He continued his explanation. Where was I? Oh yes, I wanted to control the city, so I killed them all and made them my slaves. I did succeed though. I realised that the world needs to follow me in my ways, but if I killed them all and turned them into mindless slaves, I would have neglected any change of fear. Fear is something I want them to feel, or any charge of fear. They shall know it as well as the children who have nightmares of their own unspeakable demise. I have no idea what he was just saying. Something about he wanted people to fear him? Why?
He's determined to finish this tonight.
I am determined to finish and just get it done. Oh, thank fuck. Okay. I also need a blah 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 blah. Looking around the church, I saw there were no young children. My assumption was that he thought they would be useless to him. Alexandra was about to shout the sacred words again, but a quick shake of my head stopped her. They haven't worked at all. I wanted him in the right position before I tried again. I also needed a backup plan in case I failed, which you have been doing consistently. Don't bother with that little chance of yours. I am unbeatable. No matter how many times you stab this body, my being shall remain. At that point, a humorous thought crossed my mind. What if I sliced your head off? I want you, Marlon. By the way, we must do something about that name to join me in my conquest. Your friend will die, however. He walked up to Alexandra, hands burning with his signature flame. He hovered it over her head. This shall be your punishment for your subordinates, he roared. I let out a thunderous roar of my own. If I had uttered the words myself, I could have killed Sorvad, brought back Bezic, and put my theory to the test. Pardon me? Alexandra would have been killed, though, overwhelmed by the unholy horde of the dead. Dead would also had remained, still infused with Sorvad's essence. How do you know this? How do you know anything that might happen? For once, I didn't see a clear option. I had failed. My companion, in her usual kind-hearted tone, I had one thing to say before the final outcome. May I give you some advice? She asked. Take as long as you like giving it, precious. Okay.
Oh look, your pen ran out eventually. It went green.
Yep. It only delays your oblivion. Well, if you use an army, it won't be as scary compared to if you and Marlon conquered the world. Explain. Well, anyone can strike fear with an army, but to do it with only 2 people is very unique. By your logic, I would be better if I did it alone. But then, who would you share the success with? Sorvad simply glared at the walking corpses, and they fell to the ground, like, well, dead bodies. The unholy glow faded away from their false life. Alright. Alexandra had tricked him into recording his truths. I know! It just happened! You don't need to tell me! Oh God, okay. Perhaps she had grown wiser in a decade. It was very strange that I hadn't done it. I would have to even the score. Once Sorvad had changed his focus back onto her, I shouted the words one last time. Gad born Voss. As Sorvad died, so did his influence on the shadows. In a single instant, he was Sorvad turned Bezic, and the Bezic slashed into 2 with my claws. This time, he didn't return to Sorvad for some strange fucking reason. It seemed my more barbaric theory was the correct one. Oh, thank God. Okay. The glow of Sorvad surrounded the corpse, waiting for its master to awaken once more, but it waited in vain. What's up?
How much left to read?
About that much. So I am nearly done. I need to know how this ends.
He was 15 when he wrote this.
I was 15. And I felt like I've aged 15 years while reading it. For me to awaken once more, but it waited in vain. Bezic had finally been laid to an uneasy rest by my hand. We were standing in a church of the soulless. Alexandra didn't mind. She was ecstatic, good, that we had taken the life of someone who had been corrupted since the start of her very existence. Pardon? Are they? Standing tall, I proceeded to walk out of the place that had been the final resting place of my human form. Alexandra followed close by, clutching my arm as we left. A thought occurred to me as we departed the birth of my demonic persona. What next? Having a war with Sorvad had kept that thought at bay until then. The only familiar presence I had was Alexandra. So the natural decision was to stay with her. Okay, cool. Trying to... Dude needs to make it a TikTok series. I don't want to make it a TikTok series. It's nearly done. It's nearly done. I have nearly finished. The town was empty, but the livestock were alive. Alright, we had livestock. Perhaps I could just stay here. I stopped. My thought had led me to that same hill. The Alexandra showed me what a hug was. I turned to face her. I wasn't sure what I was going to tell her. Her eyes were glimmer. If I was to believe that eyes were windows to the soul, then hers was and still is, pure and miraculously kind. She hugged me in celebration of our victory. As she pulled away, her arms still blanketed my flesh. I embraced her, meeting my lips with hers once more. Okay, there we go. Alexandra had become so much more to me than just another citizen of this pathetic town. She had become the only citizen of the town. She had become something unique and new to me. Cool. Flashes of our united journey presented themselves in my mind, reminding me that she had always been there to aid or comfort me. As our lips departed from each other, so did these epiphany-inspiring words from hers. I love you. Fucking hell. Why? Why? Dude.
Oh God.
The very unstable emotion.
Now you're in pencil.
The very unstable emotion that my father had mentioned had been presented to me. The word echoed in my head
and for a moment, before I repeated her phrase to her, that smile of hers shone brighter than humanity's hope. That day, as we kissed once more. Later that day, we buried the bodies of the simpletons by the church. Bezzix was giving a more fitting reward. We set it aflame to the ruins of his house. The portal had shattered along with Sorvad's presence. Why? The world was barely ready to witness the arrival of a half-demon, much less a colony of full-blooded demons. You've only met two. Rebuilding the battered church was a simple task. My unearthly speed made us sure of that. The obtained and relaxing silence after it realised the past residents of the town had sent to a different level of existence. I don't even know what that means. While they were alive, I would often hear them say that the Lord works in mysterious ways. Perhaps the Lord did share my rare sense of humour for life. The whole town had become our house. It was a glorious, although a bit hollow. The house that I had called my lair for my mortal life had become our main living quarters, though reminiscent of the old days where we lived together in a surreal manner. What? I'm nearly done.
I'm lost.
You're lost? I'm lost! Upon the next sunrise making its presence known... Oh, fucking hell, what does that even mean? Alexandra asked me to search for Penetia, reasoning that she needed someone to apologise on the behalf of my late father. I accepted and ran at my signature speed to parts where she could have been, only stopping to search the area in great detail. Eventually, I found the vermin peering into the river that could end my life. A single moment and make it speak like an eternity. Okay. She was looking at her reflection, trying to decipher why Alexandra had let her live, I presumed. I approached her with a solitary word in my mind. Sensing my presence, she flew up into the air to see me from a safe distance, a new anger burning in her eyes. Met with her stare, I used the words as my first defence. I'm sorry, I announced, catching her out. What? You have my sincerest apologies for any harm my father may have caused you during his life. Any harm I've done, I don't fucking care. What are you scheming, boy? It's weird. I assure you, I have no scheme. You lie! Penetia launched herself at me with every fibre of her being. I could have caught her, preventing her from unparalleled torment, I think. Unbearable torment.
Almost there.
I could have, but I didn't. I'm not fully sure why I didn't. Maybe one part of me actually liked my human life and wanted revenge for what she had done. Maybe I knew she would never forgive my father's actions, which she's entitled not to. In turn, never forgiving me, or maybe I just didn't realise what was going to happen until it was too late. As I dodged her assault, Penetia plummeted into the river to die out of my sight. Only her screams made it to the surface. Her long life had come to an end in the same water that had caused my life to begin. I stood there in solitary silence for a moment to contemplate everything that had happened to me in the span of a few days. I couldn't say it was boring. I can. I will fully say it was boring. I set off back to the town to tell Alexandra about Penetia's unfortunate passing. We made a headstone in her honour. Good. Another decade had passed and Alexandra and I were no longer the only residents of the town. Oh, more people moved in, I guess. Okay. We were joined by our daughter. Okay. Jasmine, who was 8 and shared my sense of humour. Our oldest son, John. Why did you name him after the abusive stepdad? Alright. And our youngest son, Cycron, who had only experienced a year of life. He was a year old. Running a town was oddly easy. Jasmine had taken to a liking to using the scythe to cut the meat off unsuspecting animals.
Page.
Oh, it is, yes. She enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed slicing corpses' heads.
John reminded me a lot of my mother, always asking how everyone was. Alexandra was an excellent mother. She knows how to be a caring yet tough. Recently, I had been having dreams where Sorvad returned. I want to be ready. I told Alexandra about them and she tried to assure me he was gone for good. I didn't want my offspring to have to continue my war against him. The sacred words still echoed in my mind. If he did come back, I was ready, stronger than ever. My children didn't have to worry about fighting demonic entities, or at least that's what I thought. Was I going to write a sequel to this? I'm free! I'm free! Oh, sweet Lord in heaven! Well, okay, well done. Oh, sweet Jesus, how long has that been?
We started at like 4:15.
It's been 4 hours nearly. Oh, sweet Moses.
And Sam said she's surprised you haven't got a sore throat.
I want to die.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the worst thing I have ever read or written in my entire life. It made no fucking sense. And I didn't need confirmation that Marlon has a dick.
Would everyone like to see what he looks like illustrated from our friend?
Oh, yes. Someone decided while reading this to illustrate him. And it's spot on.
Okay. There he is.
It's too accurate.
Okay. Right. We need to have dinner.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for everyone for watching. That went on for ages. It is perfect. It is perfect, yeah. He's done it.
Let me die.
He might burn the book now.
That's a good idea.
It's a good idea to burn it. Somewhere safe, of course.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you for all joining us for this 4-hour live.
Thank you.
People that are coming in and out. He does need a strong drink. He keeps saying he wants alcohol,
Yes.
so he wants alcohol. I'm going to get dinner in the oven. Thank you for watching. I'll probably end up joining Jodie's live later because she should be live like right now. So thank you. Right, I'm going to end this now. Thank you so much. Right, so
Bye.